Okay, I'll call the select board meeting for Monday, April 15th, 7 p.m. to order. Review the agenda for additions, removal, or adjustments of any items, 1 per V1 BSA 312 D3 and A. Anything to add?
The only thing I want to mention is we've received 3 additional applications from volunteers today. The select board may choose to consider them this evening or wait until the next meeting to schedule a time to meet with them.
Okay. Where would you like to put those, or just
Well, if
do that under select board's concerns?
no, that would be under V2 or section 5.2, regular business.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Under continued appointment or reappointment of town officials.
Okay.
Anything, did you want to add that agenda item to the email from Chris Lathrop too?
That can go under the
Correspondence?
select board goals and priorities and schedule.
Okay, I'll just make a note.
Number 4. What's
Okay.
going under there? The email from Christopher Lathrop about scheduling a public information meeting for the paving project.
Okay.
We're potentially aiming for a meeting in May, and so we can talk about that under item 4.
Okay. Public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to briefly share comments and concerns of the board about matters that are not on the agenda. Up to 5 minutes for each topic. A topic requiring more than 5 minutes should be scheduled for a future agenda. I think I drink a water now. I see we got some hands up. Yep. One in the back. Yeah.
Potholes on Main Street, do you know if they'll be dealt with at some point? They're getting pretty large.
Oh, I imagine they're out and about. Yeah. Today they wouldn't have done anything with them, but yeah.
Is it on Main Street? Like,
Yeah, it's one that they've filled before and it keeps coming back open.
And that's going to
and is
continue to
that a
happen.
V-Trans or a town?
Town
That's
does
town.
that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, visitors appointments. 7 p.m. Kevin Hansen, come on up, Kevin. Interested in being on the planning commission candidate.
And in your packet is a copy of his application.
Yep. Okay. Good. Just, I guess I always ask why. What do you want the pain and suffering every other Tuesday like here?
I was on the planning commission, actually, when it was the BZA and planning commission in the 80s, so I have some
I
understanding.
guess you've taken a long enough break?
Yeah,
Is that what we could
I've
say?
taken a break, so I've had some experience, although it wasn't nearly as formal, I guess, as it is today. I'm interested to try to keep the current rewrite, which is underway, I guess, but keep it realistic to Bristol, or my concept of Bristol. Not get not put encumbering things in the plan and further down into the zoning regulations that would make it more difficult, more expensive to live in Bristol than it is today. And there's certain things that are in the plan currently that probably doesn't make sense to have it in there either. So those may be things, topics of discussion to revisit and see if they're valid.
Okay.
Case in point is, in the transportation section, it says something that bridges should be built with wood and stone, preferably covered bridges, which I kind of question the need for that type of work and activity in Bristol and the big related expenses for it.
Okay. Okay. And did the board get any other questions?
Have you sat in on a recently, Kevin?
No, I have not.
I was really impressed with your response to what skills you bring to the volunteer position. I thought that was really well written.
Good, thank you.
Very clear and very good.
Yeah, most people I know, I worked in facilities pretty much all my life. In the last 10 or 15 years, I managed it. So I have a good understanding of, from that perspective of industrial, codes and dealing with regulations and all that sort of things.
Okay. Any other questions for Kevin, you guys?
No.
Okay, we got a couple more interviews, Kevin. We're probably going to, if we go in executive session, talk about them, and then we'll make a decision and let you know.
Okay.
Okay? I would advise that, sitting on a planning commission meeting
Okay.
and see, yeah, this is really like I want, or boy, this is not what I wanted to do.
Or
Before you
watch
get
the
settled.
videos.
Or watch the videos.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good.
I would.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you
Kevin.
for coming in. Okay. 7:10 Energy Committee requests. Ian, come on up.
No, it could be, I don't know. Okay.
This is just sort of an overview, more than what you
Yeah,
have
it's
in
on
terms of the entire
it's,
application.
it's on this one, or health.
So this is State of Vermont offering
Do you have
the
another
grant program. Offering the grant program that we offered about 5 years ago when the Energy Committee was looking at applying for it. This is the second round of this application. We were interested in applying for the first round and ended up not having all the details in front of us to actually put the application together. We do have those now and would like to get permission from the select board of the town to go ahead and apply for the grant. So this is monies that came from the VW settlement. Had about $2 million, I think, that were earmarked for electric vehicle infrastructure upgrades to the state of Vermont. You can apply, many groups can apply. So we're applying as the town. That means a 10% match in the project, and that can be in kind. So as it is now, it won't be any monetary amount put forth by the town. We can just do it in kind in terms of a little bit of the construction costs.
Well, where would the construction costs come to paid?
It's part of, we would be assisted by the contractor who will do the work.
So the contractor's donating his or her
Yes,
services?
yes. Essentially, it's sort of working with them and maybe some of our equipment and mostly their assistance, sort of being able to do some of the trenching work.
Have you talked to Eric about it?
Not yet, no.
Are these the fast charging units? I know you and I talked a
Right.
while ago, or are these the?
It's not the fast charging because that's a much more expensive setup. So this is level 2, which is what most communities and towns are going for now, what they're recommending. So this will give you, it's not going to be a couple hours and then your EV is totally full, but it will give you, you can spend a couple hours in town and you've got, another 30 or 40 miles.
Okay.
And Bristol's in a unique position where if you look at the map, Drive Electric presents in terms of charging stations, you can see we've got a pretty good area where we're right dead set in the middle of towns that don't have stations. I know that Starksboro applied for round 1 and didn't receive it last time. I don't know if they're going to be applying again. Warren applied for round 1 and they did get it. And I've actually looked at both of their applications and that sort of assisted and helped me write this one. So we've got that. We've got, this is what the equipment looks like. This is what the contractor, Cummins Electric, is recommending. This is a breakdown of their costs, which I actually just got today. I worked with Bristol Electronics to get some initial details and then moved to Cummins Electric for the final thing. And then these are just some of the larger.
So this number that they're giving you is for everything, the charging
Correct.
unit and
Yeah.
the installation.
Yeah, and a 5-year contract from the company for all sort of maintenance.
Maintenance.
Yep,
So do they put a credit card?
Correct.
In this,
Yeah.
so there's no, the town's not paying anyway?
correct, yeah. And what you can do is we've, as recommended by Cummings for other towns, they quoted for both Starksboro and for Warren. They recommend a standard of like $1 per hour. And so the town is paying the electricity charges. At the moment, it's like 17 cents per kilowatt. So, and we'll charge it, it'll be a sort of flat fee of $1 as the car sits there and charges. So we won't accrue any costs. The one thing I need to check is to see a new meter will need to be installed and what that would be if it's a rental situation, since I know we already have a bunch out there, what that would cost.
So,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
How often do these have to be maintained?
I don't know.
Because what I'm thinking is to bump the charge up to cover maintenance and to cover the match, whatever portion of the match doesn't get covered. What bothers me is people who are in wheelchairs paying for hiking trails.
Okay.
People who are not interested in owning an electric vehicle or can't afford it, paying for charging stations. And so what I'd like to see is this installation paying for itself.
Which essentially it will.
Well, what about the maintenance?
The maintenance is a 5-year contract.
5 year
It's built in. It's
Uh-huh.
part of the grant,
Okay.
which is what the length of the grant program is.
So what happens after 5 years? How long are these like estimated to last, like the charging? I know that eventually they're gonna be outdated.
Right.
Is that 5 years? Is that 10 years? Do we have a concept of how long that will be?
It's hard to tell because of how fast stuff is changing. I mean, generally, it's a national standard in terms of the charging equipment. You know, there are lots of different companies that make this kind of equipment. ChargePoint is just one of many. So I don't have details of how often. I don't know in 5 years if we revisit it. And it's something where we could, you know, we have the 5-year sort of built-in plans
Right.
as part of the grant, you know, and maybe in 3 years we can talk to ChargePoint and just see where they're at in terms of the technology changing, just so we're ahead, you know, so we're not, in 5 years, it's not sitting there and not doing anything because it can no longer be used.
I have a couple other questions. Do we have to mark in the parking spots that it's for EV use only?
Correct.
So
That's part of it.
is that part of the construction cost, or is that something our Department of Public Works is gonna have to?
Part of the construction cost. And it's part of the grant in terms of dedicated spaces. And there are 40 parking spaces along West Street, so it'd be 38 remaining, and then there are 37 around the park.
So you chose this spot, because you and I had talked initially about down by the
Correct.
church, and you chose this spot, I assume, because of the telephone where the access to the power
Yes,
was.
so part of it, so Valerie and I sort of took a walk around a couple weeks ago and sort of discussed the location. We initially put it at the Peace Garden because I was thinking like further away, less used parking spaces. The more I thought about that over time, I was sort of looking at the parking that is used when the church things are going on there, and it's because of the proximity. A lot of the spaces are being used at the corner of the park.
Right.
We also had the issue of a large tree being there, and you have the case that you have to trench a good deal from this pole along to get to that spot. So I was thinking, well, is there another place we can put it where we don't have to sort of incur that cost? This one, even though it's directly in front of the bandstand, which I'm not a huge fan of, we already have the infrastructure of this pole, which is just upgraded, and there's the old pole still there, which I'm hoping they're going to take out. So at least you have something already there. It's dead center in the park, and so it's closer to. It's looks more favorable in the grant when you're closer to your shopping area, so someone can park, see downtown, be able to walk downtown, as opposed to being at the end of the park and walking that way. Not that it's a huge distance difference, but everything like that helps where you see it. So that was a couple of the main reasons why we sort of moved it to the center here.
Also, I noticed that when there are events at Holly Hall, all the spaces are taken oftentimes. And in those instances where there's a special event, we have the option of covering those signs with a bag or something to make those available to regular parking.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you can
Like
work
town
with
meeting, voting.
Whatever.
Yeah, you can work with state in terms of waivers for certain things. Yeah.
Now, Ian, as you know, there's 3 of these down at the Model Works next to where I work. And one of them is for Tesla and the other are for any other charity. Is this Tesla qualified, so
It
to
is.
speak?
So if you're a Tesla driver, you need to have a special adapter, which I think most owners have. And so you can use a level 2. It's not as easy and it's not as quick, but they do have adapters that use it. But this will cover, you know, as many electric vehicles as are out there.
Okay. And then, so you said the 17 cents we're paying for
Yeah.
electricity right now, and the dollar. So if they leave it charged for and get a 30 extra miles or 2
Yeah.
hours, is that over the 17 cents per kilo? Are they getting more than the dollar's worth a
No,
kilowatt?
no. Well, it'll be $1 an hour, so it's however long it sits there. But the town isn't paying that, since the town's only going to be paying the 17 cents.
So the rest of that money then goes where? You know, when they
Yeah,
put their credit card
exactly.
in, they pay 17 cents of that is technically earmarked towards the power.
Correct.
Where does the balance go?
I believe it goes to the town.
Okay.
It's part of
So
sort
we
of
have to
the.
set up something.
Correct. Yeah.
What does it cost to charge? Let's say the thing is just about dead. What does it cost to charge an electric vehicle at 17 cents a kilowatt hour?
How many kilowatts will the
How
car
many
take?
kilowatts does it take?
Oh, I don't know that,
Okay.
because I guess it would be dependent on the car and the batteries that you have. Most of the time, you know, so this kind of infrastructure, it's not mainly, it wouldn't be for owners who are driving into town and working here, or people who already have cars here. It's sort of passing through. And so as much as I know, most owners you're very aware of how much you have left in your car. And so this is sort of like a top-up situation, mostly for tourists coming through and passing through. And I don't think you'd ever have a case where you'd be completely run down. But I don't know the details of what it would take to bring it back up. I mean, in a couple hours, for most electric vehicles, it only gives you a short range.
Right.
So how does this get advertised? I imagine people with electric vehicles have a point-to-point plan.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's an app that you can get.
Yeah. There's apps, there's also, depending on your car, you can have details in the car that tells you where stations are. Drive Electric has a pretty good, which is what this is based on, pretty good detailed map of all the stations that are in Vermont, and anything new that's been put in goes onto that map.
So that this company, this vendor would put that in? Or
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and ChargePoint will advertise as well.
Yeah. Why did you choose to go away from the local vendor? Was it a cost thing? Or?
No, it wasn't a cost thing. It was, unfortunately, I asked that the grant requires an itemized list of a breakdown of all the materials and what the units cost and what the care packages cost, and they weren't able to provide that. They just didn't, that's something they said they didn't do. And so I had to go. I talked to the Planning Commission chair of Warren, who had put their proposal together, and he recommended Cummings Electric. He said when they put theirs together for last year, they called all the people that were on the recommended list as part of the grant. Cummings Electric were the best. They said they came out the next day, and I've been talking to Glenn, and he's been great. And he gave us break down the whole detail of it very quickly. And the price was about the same.
Are the charging fees negotiable, or is it fixed in the grant application? Can we tinker with it later?
Yes. Yeah, the charging fees come from Cummings Electric. That's what the sort of standard is. If we wanted to go less or more, I think that's negotiable. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, 5 years or so, an increase in the power.
Correct. Yeah, it
Kilowatt
could
power.
fluctuate over time. We don't want to.
We
We
could
don't.
raise the rate.
Or in 6 months?
Or in 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
We
whatever.
don't want to get to a case where it's sort of, because Bristol's is overly expensive, no one's using it, even if they're passing through and need an extra charge up. But I think we can. It's easy to keep tabs on that, and also working with organizations like Drive Electric, they'll help us sort of be able to figure out the sweet spot, which is mainly that sort of $1, and it's equal to like $1.50, I think, or 53 of gasoline. That's what the equivalent cost
Yeah,
is.
it's in there somewhere. I saw that.
I was hoping actually you guys would look at the 2 parking spots that are kind of between covers in the corner. And I know one of them is handicap.
Right.
And move that handicap down a little bit further down towards the shopping district.
It's a matter of getting the phase 3 power there.
Yeah, right.
That
Well,
was-
it doesn't need phase.
I thought we,
It isn't phase
or is
3?
that the
No.
superchargers?
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We don't need that, which is why we can pull from this pole.
Three-phase,
Yeah.
Well, also, in this location, vehicles going in either direction have an easier
Correct.
way to get in and out, whereas in
Yeah.
covers, it's the angled parking, so you have to
And-
kind of maneuver.
That's
Because-
okay, people drive in there that way
Right.
anyway, either way.
Because it has to, Are you talking about the space that's between covers and the
These two
intersection?
right here.
Right, so it has to be 2 spaces, that's the minimum requirement. And so we would be,
My logic here was, I mean, when a car's pulled up right there and you come out of the Shaw's there, it's hard to see anyway. So you could create that first one as the handicap.
Oh,
So
I
it's
see.
not used as much, but
Okay.
it's used. And then these two could become, and when they're not used, you get a better sight view for people coming. If 2 cars are there and you're coming around, you get, the intersection would look,
Right.
I think, a little better, I think. Not a little more better, that's bad word English. A little better.
so that's an interesting idea, and I'm not,
That was my thought, that's all.
okay.
Yeah.
Can you move accessible spaces around? What determines?
Handicap, you
Yeah.
handicap accessible? They just have the requirements, I think, you know, you have to have
The
the
law is
requirements for the,
Yeah, I don't think we have enough
What?
downtown anyway, by the law. You're supposed to have 1 per every 22 parking spots.
That's interesting.
And after every 4, you're supposed to have 1 van one, by the law.
I mean, I like that location. There was an issue when we had our meeting regarding next year's road project that technically that would become, at least in their plans that we looked at, that would become a single spot. We would lose a space there. But I think it's the
was just
town's
laid out.
choice to have it just be the same. I think if the town didn't have a say, they would just put it back to a single space. I think it's not technically allowed to be 2 spaces.
are we talking the 2 farthest?
These two are
farthest
here?
west?
Yeah.
And these were all laid
It
out
was
by...
it was a mistake, I think, at least this is what Du Bois King said when the intersection was rebuilt, that it shouldn't have been put back to 2 spaces. Or it was originally 3, but it went to 2, but it should only be 1. But we have the choice to keep it as 2. So that could be a potential location if we could move the handicap space.
I think so too.
But then there's the issue of the electric power.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah, we'd have to figure out where to pull from
Yeah.
for that.
right. That would be an issue there, yes.
I mean, we do have
You do have
all
power.
the power is there for the intersection, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
but
that
then you're
huge
talking
power
about
box.
having to dig up what you,
Yeah.
probably dig up all the work we've already done.
right, the sidewalk it would have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go under the sidewalk and
Yeah.
into that.
You can always check out horizontal boring. You don't have to dig it up.
Personally, I like it better
Okay.
where he's proposing it in the park.
Okay.
I would really like to see the charge, the money, somehow pay for the installation and pay for the possibility that we would need to upgrade these before the 5 years is up.
Okay.
And the way
I can-
these things develop,
Yeah,
I can see it maybe in 3 years, nobody's using it
right,
because the cars have changed enough that they're not compatible.
yeah. I mean,
And get a fund going that would allow us to do that.
Well, maybe that's what you do with whatever the extra money is,
Yeah.
you earmark it towards.
Well, we don't even know how much it could be pennies. We
Right.
have no idea
Right.
what the extra money is. That was my question about what does it cost to charge one of these things?
right,
Yeah, but what we're saying is it's currently, it's 17 cents per kilowatt per hour.
yeah. That's what the town will pay, just as we
Right,
pay
so there's
electricity.
gonna be a dollar minus the 17 cents
Yeah.
for the first hour, second hour, so there is that. I mean, it'll be a matter of what the kilowatt hour cost fluctuates.
It's not gonna be a lot, I'll tell you that.
So can I
but
put a
hopefully-
surcharge on it to cover what I'm talking about?
Some of them have surcharges when you.
Right, and I have
But
to
that's-
look at that in more detail.
Those surcharges usually are for the app, isn't it, for the app?
Right,
They
and that's,
pay.
and that's what ChargePoint is kind
Right.
of charging.
So out of this quote here on the back side, what is our share of that 16?
10%.
2120?
So it's like, so our share is 1,900.
How do they do their math at 16.8?
No, 2120.
2120 is the
21.20.
total cost on your,
Oh, no,
on this.
That sheet is wrong.
Oh, it is?
so the application amount is
It's
$19,080, yeah.
Okay.
But that's not so the total project cost then is 1980 plus the 2120, is that right?
No, it's actually different than the sheet that you had.
Total project cost is estimated to be $21,200. That is wrong?
That's because you didn't get the, he's got the sheet.
If you look in that one,
No, I see that there's a different number, which I'm not clear on which one is right.
okay, the one I handed you tonight is the right one. It's only because I was waiting
The
on.
estimated cost, 18,993,
There you
the
go.
grant,
Okay.
17,093, the 10% in kind, 1,900.
Yeah, the prices I gave Valerie last week were
On
based,
Friday,
based on, correct, were based on, cost assessment on the Warren units. And only today that I received the updated details.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's different.
So you can look at the grant summary document as kind of an upper limit.
Right, exactly.
They're all estimates anyway. Usually.
So technically, if you look at it, the town's share, if it's at 17 cents per kilowatt per hour, so to speak. Right? That's what the 17 cents is per hour cost.
Correct.
Per kilowatt per hour.
Yeah, when someone plugs in, that's how much we're gonna be paying, though they're being charged $1.
So we get like, what, 83 cents
Yeah.
83 cents.
for every
So there's
hour? We
probably,
pay 83
there's probably a
cents.
nickel on that for the, or at least a nickel for using the master, your credit
Right.
card. There's gonna be a charge for credit card
Yeah,
use.
whatever the percentage is.
There's probably.
Well,
Yeah,
we can always mess with that.
Correct.
Yeah, after we get some data on it.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not gonna design where we lose money,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna be where we're making bank
Yeah.
from it.
We're not gonna be rolling in the dough, huh?
No,
I wouldn't mind covering upgrades.
Well, we have,
Having-
we have the
having
5 years,
fun.
that's all in there, from the company.
However, if what the company provides us with doesn't last 3 years because the cars have changed,
Right. I see what you're saying.
then we've got 2 more years that's
Yeah.
covered and nobody's using the
Right.
equipment.
Well,
Yeah.
So what I was looking at is getting a well of money that we can use to upgrade and keep up with the changes that
Right.
they're experiencing
me-
with the cars.
Let me talk to Cummings Electric and see what they recommend in terms of what ChargePoint's been doing. I mean, it's an industry standard in terms of the charging technologies. Lots of companies make them. So I don't see them changing a huge amount, because the cars are designed to use that technology or adapt to it.
I can't imagine that they would change the charging port since these are all.
I'm not right.
right.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get from Cummings, a town, has Warren had theirs, how long has Warren had theirs?
They only just got theirs and theirs aren't installed yet, but we should look at other towns.
Other towns
Yeah.
that said, you know what, we
How about
are,
Middlebury?
Middlebury has them. Green Mountain Power installed them about 5 or 6 years ago.
There
They're
we
still
go.
in use. So,
I could ask about the three, they're at Marble
right.
Works.
And there's a Tesla one there and a couple
There's a
others.
Tesla and 2 regular ones, that's why I asked.
How many are down at the Mill Street? Is that 3? Are there 3?
Yeah,
not sure.
those are the
Yeah.
larger ones that
Yeah, the
are like an
super-
enormous box. Yeah.
I mean, we can give Ian permission to move forward with the grant,
Right.
and we can
Right.
mess with all the numbers.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
control over,
Right.
how it's gonna look. And so the infrastructure is just, it's a bollard style, so it'll be a sonotube poured in place. The equipment attaches to that. They always put a couple of these bollards in for protection, so you're not backing
Good.
your car into that. And it's a steel tube, and this is a plastic sort of cover for the bollards. There's one other thing that we're working out in terms of,
And that one will do 2 vehicles.
correct,
That's
it's
why
a
there's
two port, yeah.
Okay.
And that'll reach, and you can, part of the
I do like-
stipulation
I
is
do
being
like
able
that
to back
versus
in
a single
or go forward and be able to reach. So the only other thing is the meter in the box is usually on a separate
Pedestal.
pedestal. I want to talk to, or actually I think Cummings Electric is going to talk to someone at Green Mountain Power to see if we can put the meter on the pole. He says they generally don't like doing that.
They don't.
But 50 feet to the right, we have a pole that has a meter on it, but it's probably been there for a couple of 10 years. So we need to talk to them. So they're, at the back of this, we may have to put another piece of infrastructure to hold that meter there next to the pole.
Could it be possible to, because just to the, towards the old coach house spot, isn't there a meter there
there's some electrical boxes.
There is no meter there. No, there is
I don't want to think that
distribution.
Carol was always, when she was on the board with me, we pay about, you pay $19 just to read your meter.
Right.
If we could get this tied into a meter that's already on the park, if we're paying the bill
The
anyway,
meters on the park though are way away from there.
Yeah, it would be a bit of transfer.
They're way away
maybe
from there.
be worth, you figure you spend $240 a year just to read the darn thing. If
But
you
their
could get-
smart meters don't even read them.
Well, you still
Yeah.
pay for it. You
That's
still
right.
pay for
That's
it.
right.
Pay for the technology.
I mean, maybe the one that's sitting on the pole closest to the intersection can
Right.
move to here, and we don't have to put another meter on.
Okay.
But all that can be worked out, and
Yeah.
I can come back and talk
So
about
I'd
that when I
entertain a
have
motion.
specifics.
I will
More
make a
question?
motion that we allow the Energy Committee to proceed with grant request, and that we, if successful, we can work out details later.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Also, the application requires a resolution be approved and signed by the select board. So, and then the resolution also requires the planning commission chair signature. It's very much like the municipal planning grant resolution, so there's a copy of that in the packet.
Well, this will have to go through zoning anyway. I mean, we fought for about 3 meetings to put a 12-inch box with kids' books underneath the... Let's just tell the truth here, full advertising.
Is this a DLD thing?
This is DRB, it's gotta go through design review.
Yeah.
Possibly, but this is,
We
the
didn't bring
purpose
up
of
that.
having the planning commission chair signature is to acknowledge that it's compatible with the town plan.
Okay.
Are you willing to sign that?
Right now? I wanted to make a comment. actually.
Tomorrow's fine.
Katie,
Can I make a comment
Yep,
before you
we haven't
close?
had a
Well, I
vote.
just wanted to make, I didn't really know you were coming to talk about this, but I want to make 2 comments. I know that they do have charging, there's 2 charging stations that have 2 different types of hookups where they, so there's for 2 different types of cars. I don't think they can accommodate, they must have done that over time. I don't know, there's regional planning officers, 2 chargers like that. But the other thing that the select board knows is that the planning commission is working on putting together the enhanced energy plan that the select board, that we got money from the state for. And as part of that plan, they really, suggest, it's moving towards almost everyone having an electric vehicle, in someday. And to support that, and then to have the plan adopted, they like to see things in that plan that say, well, how do you support everyone having an electric vehicle? You need to start by having chargers is a good, it's a really good thing to have in that plan, not just to say you're gonna do it, but now actually you're moving towards that.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, there's a motion.
Do we have to make a motion? I'll probably have to make a motion to say that.
Here, do you want to amend that?
That'd be second motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to have the energy committee through Ian to continue to apply for the grant and work out the details with cost at a later date, right, Peter? Is that what your motion was? Tasha, you want to read that back to us?
That's paraphrased well.
Tasha, do you want to read that back, please?
I missed that last part.
Pete,
I got
what
the-
Pete's
I got
motion
your one
was.
before.
Yeah, read
Yeah, read
Pete's
that.
motion if you have that.
Okay. Peter Coffey moved for the Energy Committee to apply for the grant and work out the details later. The grant is approved. Ted Elias seconds.
I had Michelle second.
Yeah, Michelle
You
did
guys
say.
seconded it.
I thought I heard Ted's voice.
No, they're quite different.
Okay, any more
Unless I'm sick,
questions?
Tasha, then it may sound like Ted.
Any more for us? Any more questions on this or the board?
Questions? No, other than the resolution.
Yeah, we're gonna do that as separate. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Okay. Alrighty, let's deal with the electrical vehicle summary equipment grant program.
The motion.
The motion.
The resolution.
Resolution.
Get it here somewhere. I thought that was it, right there. Okay. Resolution for electrical vehicle supply equipment grant program.
select board signs
That the
on that.
town of Bristol Select Board enters into and agrees to the requirements and obligation of this grant program, including a commitment to match funds for at least 10% of the total project cost. And that the municipal planning commission recommends applying for said grant. Katie Myers will sign it.
So I think by our signatures, we need a motion.
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, okay.
Peter, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that the town enters into the resolution for electrical vehicle supply equipment grant program.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
I was trying to think of a way that we could give an alternative to at least 10% of the total that line. You know, a statement saying that this doesn't necessarily have to be dollars and cents, it can be in kind.
Correct, which is part of the grant.
It is. It's-
Okay.
yeah, it's here.
But it isn't here.
And so what did you said the electric vehicle resolution?
I'll give you the document so you can see the title.
Okay. Well, I'm reading what's in front of us, Ted, so
Yeah, I know.
what's your,
I'm a little nervous about the at least 10%.
Yeah.
It's, they have that in there because in the grant, if you're doing more,
Oh.
you can get additional points in the grant.
Oh,
okay. Any more questions? Motion's on the floor. Any corrections or amendments to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you updated.
thank you for the work.
No, that's not, I'll print up the final copy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah, that's for your files.
That long for one sheet of paper.
this thing hanging here in a minute, you guys. Okay, consent agenda. Roman 725, Stony Hill LLC and Town Administrator Grant Authorization Request. Authorized to apply to the Northern Border Regional Commission for funds to construct Stony Hill Business Park infrastructure, road, sidewalks, utilities, and site work.
And so with us tonight are Kevin Harper and Ryan Nick, who are going
Come
to
up, Rob.
give us some
Extra
more
chair.
information about what's proposed and help answer questions.
So you guys might as well make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, good to go. So in your packets, the select board has received a copy of the notice of, or the letter of notification and some other background information related to this program and to the project outline. So hopefully folks have had a chance to glance at some of that.
It was a chunk to get through, I
Appreciate you taking the time to read every word.
I will admit to scanning some.
The things that weren't important, I scanned.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
in a way, there's not a lot new here, but it's become more formal. So I'm gonna let Ryan go through.
Ryan, just for the record, could you tell us who you are for the
Sure.
minutes?
I'm Ryan Nick. I guess my formal position, I work for J.L. Davis Realty in Burlington, Vermont. For this project, I'm employed by Stony Hill Properties to speak for Kevin and write his emails, essentially.
I really just wanted it for the minutes.
But
Okay.
also, I'll be filling out this grant application and, doing most of this work you see before you today.
Okay.
And so that's what I do. It's an accurate reflection. So, I'm sure you're probably familiar with the project, but just a quick recap. Stony Hill Properties purchased, I guess now in total, in a couple different transactions, 12 acres sort of behind and around the firehouse in West Street. And we're proposing a couple different things. The project has gone through some changes since, I guess, at least the master plan in 2016. The focus tonight is the commercial park in the back, which we see as between 3 to 4 buildings that will help support Bristol's, commercial and manufacturing industries. And it will give businesses room to grow once they've sort of, started, incubated, and are looking for some bigger space to expand. So we, did the planning grant. We got some good numbers from that in 2016. These numbers on the first page of this are taken more or less directly from that. And so, start with the cost of the project, cost of the buildings, and you sort of back your way into a lease rate. And, through our many meetings with various businesses and, stakeholders around the area. Smaller copy of it.
Well, it's just in black and white.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to make sure that I was looking at the same
Watching
thing.
their dollars.
I don't,
Yeah.
So we backed into a lease rate and determined that it was probably not feasible for Bristol tenants or the people we hope that would, eventually occupy these buildings. And so we're looking for this grant money to, sort of help bring that lease rate down by contributing to the total project cost. It was brought to our attention by some people at the state during the Addison County Capitol for a day, that this Northern Borders Regional Commission, which used to be just the top counties in the state, would hopefully, there was a proposal that it would expand to the entire state, which went through in February.
The Farm Bill, I think it was.
Yeah, the Farm Bill.
Included in all counties now are eligible for these funds, not just the northern Canadian border. And this was built around forest products industries that were struggling and continue to struggle.
Yeah, and so to help people either retain, forest products jobs or transition out of that. And I mean, if you look at the purpose statements, these were taken directly off the Northern Borders Regional Commission website, copy and pasted more, and they describe our project almost to a T. So we thought we were sort of a natural shoo-in for this grant. How it works though is the money has to be granted to the town, and then the town would then reimburse us for expenses that we've incurred. Specifically here related to, site work, utilities, roadways, walkways.
Septic, stormwater.
Yeah, anything below ground or on ground, no structural components, so to speak.
We might have to work through the septic issue because it's my understanding that the town would need to own the infrastructure. So that certainly applies for the roadway and sidewalks and underground utilities within the road right-of-way, but what would become the road right-of-way. The septic, I'm not so
I'm glad you asked that question, because I was gonna ask what we were supposed to own and what site work we were supposed to own.
Right.
Yeah. And from our perspective, the less you own, the better. Really, we'd never imagine the town having those associated responsibilities. I mean, maybe the road makes sense. But I think septic is a great one to point to because it's been our Achilles heel for decades, and it will be for decades to come. And I think we all recognize that. So how to get, when you don't have a sewer treatment system to hook one of these buildings into, then we know what that looks like, and there's big dollars involved in that. And so right away, Bristol's at a disadvantage financially speaking, cost speak for the leasee to be able to afford all those built-in costs because we don't have this infrastructure. So in a way, it's designed for a small town like us to provide some funds to get that infrastructure, but without it, it makes building this business park untenable.
Right.
It's very different than what happened over at Bristol Works, where there were pre-existing buildings, all the infrastructure was in the ground, it was there, and we had to fix up some buildings, but nothing like starting from dirt.
So here's my question though, who determines what the town owns and what you guys will own?
We'll sort that out as we get further into the process. I'm sure as we pull the grant application together, and if it's awarded, it'll be scrutinized by the funding agency, and I'm sure they'll have questions, and so we'll go through that back and forth to sort out the details. There's also another funding source, the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, CWSRF, recently broadened their eligibility to private sector applicants. So that's a potential source of funding for sewer systems.
That's great. Yeah, we've heard a lot from Fred Kenny. I mean, the agencies that are doing this work have been really helpful to us to try to, and to the town, to try to bring these opportunities forward for us to look at. But it's hard to do them either as a town or as a private entity. The private-public partnership seems to be the way these programs are designed.
And we have letters of support from the Addison County Regional Planning Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, and we're waiting on one from the Economic Development Corporation, but they'll have it in the application.
When do they expect to award these?
So the application is due May 10th, and then the decision is made in July sometime.
So if you get it in July, are you expecting to start this summer, or it'll probably be a year off?
It'll depends on, how, we line up the tenants, how, certain bids come in for construction, but I think the idea would be to break ground next spring ambitiously.
Yep.
But, there's a lot that could.
Yep.
I mean, there has to be a prospective tenant.
Yeah, we're not just gonna build a building.
Why not? Build it, they will come.
Yeah. If only.
And there is the small detail about permitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that
Well,
process.
again, and it just all costs money. And just that housing project of 15 units was in the neighborhood of $400,000, in excess of $400,000, and it does include some land costs, but a lot of that's permitting and all that archaeology stuff.
That's a nice word.
Stuff. Limbic debitage is my favorite. It's thing they talk about, chips, limbits, things.
But I mean, it's been the goal of this board, previous boards, the planning commission,
Thank you.
to bring more jobs, stop all the cars from leaving town in the morning and going to, Middlebury, Virginia, Burlington area, Chittenden County.
Bees wrap.
Yeah,
It's just like,
Exactly.
another one,
Yeah.
another one. And then Bristol Works can only accommodate so much, and really only up to 10,000 square feet. So when they get past 10,000 or 50 or so employees, and Bees Wrap's a great example, they've got to move to the 15, 20, or 25, and this would, according to the planning grant, this property would accommodate those, so we could keep them a whole other generation longer. It could be 25 years longer.
And maybe attract those who have left to come back.
To come back.
That would be the dream.
Okay, any more questions? Peter, Michelle, Ted, questions for Kevin or Brian?
I do want to just mention that we received word today from the state of Vermont that the program received 82 letters of notification, so it's going to be a very competitive round.
That was for $3.4 million.
$3.4 million.
And what's the value of those 82? Was it something like
$20 million.
Right.
Right, so.
Slice that pie up pretty small. Just a
Or a whole
sliver.
lot of no's.
A lot of those.
So there's going to be a lot of work between now and May 10th to pull together a competitive application.
And I think it's fair to say that Ryan anticipates doing the bulk of the work in terms of the grant writing and the research involved, connecting the dots. But Valerie's been very, very generous, helpful. But at the end, our hope is that, we'll bear the bulk of the burden of the preparation, but we need to know that the town's there. Valerie's got some time, hopefully, in her schedule to work with us, and has been terrific to date.
We just make her work 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Give her Wi-Fi at her house. Work from there weekends and nights.
Already done.
Already done.
Already doing that.
I know you are, because you send it to me and I'm going,
I'll make a motion.
she's sending me a text. I'll wait another one.
I'll make a motion that the town of Bristol enter into a grant in conjunction with Stony Hill for the Northern Border Regional Commission grant in the amount of $500,000.
Is there a second? Motion is second. You got all that, Tasha?
Yep.
All righty. Motion is second to apply for a grant with Stony Hill Properties. Any more questions from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And it was.
Good luck.
Cross our
Yeah.
cross our fingers.
Car chargers.
Huh?
That was less, yeah, that was less painful, huh?
Thank you.
Kevin, yours project, or our business park over there has been on the,
I know.
on here for a long
Come on, I'm
time.
not
It was,
even
if we
young.
could get that from the
Let's get this
state,
thing
then we,
done.
right, we got that, then.
Okay, all right, sure.
I'll call you maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
See you.
Okay, Addison County Regional Consent Agenda.
Consent agenda, so there are 6 items on the consent agenda, and if there are no items for discussion, they can be approved in a single motion.
Who seconded that last one, sorry?
What's that? The-
Peter.
Peter.
I have a couple questions on the Addison County Regional Planning
Sure.
agreements. So the first one for the 16,200, that's not part of our contract, we already pay them, that's in
It's
addition
over
to
and above.
that, and that is just for the town
Town
plan.
plan.
And where are those funds coming from?
$15,000 is from a municipal planning grant.
Which we kind of talked about last year, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
it's
that
the
part of
same,
last year?
it's that same project,
It's the
and then the balance is either matching in kind or coming out of the planning budget, which is already a line item for special projects.
Okay. So then the other one for the
Subdivision,
subdivision, that, again, that's in separate from
Separate.
the 5.
yeah, because we're asking them to do over and above,
Making out like.
and that's not to exceed, so it could be less.
And again, that'll come out of the same, is that
A
a line
planning
item in
budget,
the budget?
special projects, yep. And just to point out that on the subdivision contract, the Regional Planning Commission proposed a pretty ambitious schedule. It was 2 months, which I don't think is realistic.
Unless
So-
we already got something in the works.
No, so I recommend, and I included it in my recommendation, that the timeline coincide with the town plan update. That the motion to approve includes authorization to extend the timeline.
So, well, if we don't extend the timeline and they don't make the timeline, then what? Do we get to deduct money off of their contracted amount?
It's called renegotiation.
Did Chris weigh in on this? Or Katie?
Yes.
They did? Okay. They both weighed in on this, okay.
Do you think they could do subdivision regs in 2 months?
There's a lot of background information. There's a lot of information.
That you already have?
Yeah.
For
You've
the
already done?
subdivision regs?
Okay.
And it's pretty standard document. It just, needs to,
Be
a
put
lot of
together.
these documents are very similar. They just need to work these, work with what we have.
I like your idea.
Okay.
So I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion to second to approve the consent agenda. I just have actually kind of a question for you, Katie, on regional planning. And it should have been actually directed with Kevin. Remember the grant we got for first study of Stony Hill Park? How did that go? I guess we got everything done on that grant. How do we keep track of what, I guess the question.
That grant
it's
was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, planning grant. I
Okay.
think for 15,000, 20,000,
15,
25,000,
yeah, I
something
don't
like that.
remember what it was,
It
but
was,
yeah.
it predates me, but that's finished.
Okay.
And who actually did that?
It was
study?
hired by a consultant.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Okay.
So the grant funds paid for a consultant to do the master plan.
Right, right,
Okay.
that's right.
And that's what we've seen, it developed from what they showed us tonight.
Right,
Okay.
right.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any more comments from the board for the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. North Street paving follow-up, consider whether to add grinding. You saw that in Mallory's notes? I think it's a no-brainer.
Good, what's the additional cost?
Up to $10,000
Up to for the whole length?
for grinding, yes.
To purchase grinding. But that also means we get 2 inches of mix rather than an inch
Right.
on top.
Right, so that's total.
But, yes, I agree with Joel, it absolutely needs to be done. Yeah.
And it doesn't make, it gives you some curb still, you get it down.
Yeah.
If you're not, you really keep raising the pavement up to the curb and yeah.
And it's still well within our paving
That's
budget.
what I was gonna ask, is it still gonna be within the budget?
Yeah, but that road is in such bad shape that just going over the top of it was not a good plan.
No. Okay. Is there a motion?
I move. So moved.
So Ted moves in second. Oopsie, all right.
I'll second.
Peter second to follow up with the grinding through a road foreman. Any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alrighty.
Great, thank you.
Continue appointments or reappointments of town officials, possibly deliberation in executive session. We do have an executive session tonight,
We do.
so you wanna just, we have a
Up to you.
couple more. They're not here tonight. I don't see them here. People there.
Let's see here.
Just need to put a few more on the commission or a few more people on, we can just start sliding.
So in terms of reappointments, we did.
Be careful though. Okay.
David Sharp and Ken Weston both agreed
Yeah, I
to,
saw that.
expressed interest in being reappointed. We also heard today from Ron Kowalski, from the Zoning Board of Adjustment alternate, that he's also interested in being reappointed, so.
Okay, so we'll slide him over.
How do you
Yep.
spell his last name?
K-O-W.
K-O-W.
Whoops, go ahead, Michelle.
A-L-S-K-I, I think.
Yep.
Yep.
So it says here, that's what I was going by. So,
And we did receive, let's see, some additional applications. One on Friday and 3 today.
They're all new people though, they haven't,
Right.
so we really.
Right, they're all new.
Interview
At
them.
least,
Right.
yeah, just get the face-to-face.
Yeah.
Great, so we'll plan on that for the next meeting.
So I'll make a motion, those that have agreed to be reappointed, that we do so.
It's
Second.
Ken, David, and Ron.
Yeah. Second.
okay, there's a motion and a second to reappoint the people that have been on those commissions to, after hearing back from them. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Did you second that, Ted?
Yeah.
10 seconds. Get that, Tasha, Peter and Ted? Okay.
One of at the last meeting, folks also were interested to know what the scope of work, what the definition was of the energy coordinator. And I included a copy of that in your packet. It's the last page of your group. Just wanted to point that out because you did ask about it. And right now that position is vacant.
What's that note about this? What are we doing?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Ted. Ted's referring to the application from Linda Luna. Luna, okay.
Lana.
Makes sense. And it's interested in a variety of other community groups. Does the select board have any role in making that level of appointment?
I think just a letter to her saying you're more than welcome to
Or do we,
apply. You can be a member of the Historical Society, it's not through us.
should we maybe just forward the application to them?
Yeah,
To the-
You could.
That's what I would do.
Yes,
Let
forward.
all these groups
And
that
ask
she's
them to
checked.
contact
There's
us.
got, what, 5 of them checked out?
Sounds good.
Yep,
Because I'm guessing that any one of those could use assistance.
yep,
And be more than happy. So,
Right?
yeah.
For the energy role, is it something that we can just have one of the energy committee members do?
What do you mean?
energy coordinator.
Energy
The energy
coordinator?
coordinator.
Sure, I think so.
I know.
That,
I mean, does the town need to have an official person in that capacity, or can it, the fact that we have an energy committee, can that take the place of that?
It says the legislative body may appoint and
Okay.
determine the length of term for an energy coordinator. So it's not mandatory.
I mean, if you read B and C, the Energy Committee is,
Already doing that.
it's already doing that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe we make kind of like we did with the Green Up Coordinator, we made it the
Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission, maybe we make the Energy Committee the Energy Coordinator
well,
as a group. And they select
they are the energy coordinator.
where they
Because
are.
we don't have to, we may. It's not a may.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
right.
think we're more than covered with a
Right.
very active energy.
Okay. Where I was here. So we're gonna take care of some of those.
Next time.
Okay, next time. Okay, Board of Health, considering establishing a deputy town health officer position. As you know, this has come because I'm a town health officer. is out on sick leave right now, dealing with her crisis. So, and we need to, it falls back on the, I didn't realize it until Valerie let me know a week ago, yet tomorrow, that, oh yeah, the chair is, it points to the chair if you don't have one, correct?
If it's vacant.
If it's vacant, I'm very
Yes.
lucky.
But if the town health officer just simply isn't available, that person still has the obligation to follow through the statutory responsibilities. So one thing that the select board can do is appoint a deputy town health officer to assume the duties in the absence of the town health officer.
Right. And we do have an applicant, we've talked with him, a new appointment. He's sitting to my right here with a beard. Ted is willing to step in Diane's position because she's out, and she's actually given Ted some paperwork and or some.
The way this thing developed
Discussion.
was exactly the way that Diane or I would run the whole town. She walked into the backyard, handed me this and said, hey, look, would you mind covering for me while I'm being treated? And I said, fine. So she handed me all this information and suggested, made some suggestions as to how to go about.
I imagine in that packet is something about the trailer park, correct?
This is all forms, empty forms.
Well, there's a manual, and there's a lot of guidance,
Yes,
and there are a lot
yes.
of resources available for town health officers, so.
Okay.
So I agreed to do it with her, and I'll agree to do it here, and I'm signed up to go to an in-person training event in Montpelier, no, in Burlington, if I'm appointed.
Okay. Well, let's get that out of the way first, I guess.
And the select board makes the recommendation, which gets forwarded to the Vermont Department of Health, and it's actually the health commissioner that makes the appointment, and it will become effective on May 1st.
So what do we do? Make a motion to recommend Ted to become the deputy health
And then
officer?
there's the form that the chair would sign that we send
I'll
out.
make that motion.
Okay.
I guess I'll have to second.
You can second his own, I think.
It is unbelievable.
All right, is a motion and a second for the chair to sign the form for the Department of Health to make Ted our deputy town health officer. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yay.
No, I'm guessing some of these folks are here over.
Yes, I'm gonna, I'm not.
No, I have another.
Oh, you have another one? Okay.
Yeah, I have another.
All right, so one of Ted's first acts will be,
Yeah.
as he knows, Valerie and I got some texts from people here in the audience, and we got some phone calls. We sat down Tuesday morning.
Friday afternoon, or,
Was it
no, it was
last
Wednesday. It was
Wednesday morning, because I had the morning off, and got Chris on the phone from ACCT, who owns the park, and you.
She outlined the steps that they've
They've
been
tried
going
to do
through.
so far.
As folks may know, that there is a increasing concern over the number of rodents that are at the country trailer park. And it's been apparently going on for about a month, but the population of the critters has escalated.
Because it's springtime.
And there appear to be a number of contributing factors to this. At least two properties have some issues. One is abandoned and one is occupied, but the community trust has been unable to serve eviction papers to the occupant to get that process going. So they have been dealing with the court system and the legal system to try to get the rights to deal with the abandoned property, because it's still somebody else's personal property. And then also to deal with the eviction. And so that's taking time. And their goal is to, in May, by May or early May, have made a lot of progress on this and make efforts to get the sites cleaned up. On Earth Day, not Earth Day, Green Up Day, they are hosting a Casella Dumpster Day, where the tenants, all the tenants will be invited to dispose of their whatever they want to get rid of that can be legally put in a dumpster. They've also increased the number of bait stations by 24, so they've added 24 new bait stations. I I presume, strategic locations to try to reduce the population of the critters. One risk is that if the population is not reduced ahead of time before the cleanup, then the cleanup will just disperse them. And so that needs to be dealt with. And the other advice was that the neighbors and the other people outside of the park need to bring their bait stations inside, because so that the stations that the community trust are putting out it attracts them and keeps them in that area, rather than by having the bait stations outside of the park, it continues to draw them outside of the park. And so the bait stations need to be taken in. Or
She did
traps or
say
whatever.
that. Yeah, she said if you have, what she called the
Traps or
snap
whatever.
traps, that's fine, you can leave those. But if you have the ones with the bait, she put it, there's kind of like 5 different restaurants opening up, and the rats will go to. She says we want them all just one spot.
Snap traps require bait.
But they don't survive and
They
go
don't
back and
survive.
tell the rest, hey,
Yeah, okay.
there's a new
Okay,
restaurant
I'm
in
sorry,
town.
Ted. Yeah, I should have been more
Yeah.
clear on that. So, I did ask her, well, if the owner will not answer the door, and there is a pile of garbage there that would fit right in here very easily. And I says, what if the town just goes over there with a loader and loads it all and takes it to the dump and put a lien on the place? And she said, you can't do that because it's considered personal property. And until he tells us we can take that, or the
Even
court
on the
tells us.
abandoned trailer?
Correct.
The abandoned trailer,
He's
I
not
went over
there.
the other night, Thursday night, I was there, I texted Randy, our police officer, said, if you get a call from the trailer park, I'm not a peeping Tom, I'm out with a flashlight. So, and there was, the abandoned trailer doesn't have a lot of garbage around it, but it has a lot of junk around it. I'm not sure what's inside, I didn't look in. But the one that's, you can hear people, or a person moving, you can hear the television going. There's a lot of garbage on his porch and out front. And he won't answer the door for the act or CCT there.
Get the sheriff.
Yeah, and he won't answer for them, I guess. I don't know.
Still, he won't answer the door to serve.
But there's legal you can do it by
So
mail,
that's what
service
we
by mail
told
and
her,
all that
Chris.
other stuff. There's
And
all
she's
other options.
working with the
so-
courts right now. Yeah. So, okay, I'm sorry, Jess.
At what point is the human health hazard more important than the personal property issue?
Well, that's what I said to Chris on Wednesday. I said, with people who don't have garbage around their house, and I live in that neighborhood too.
Right, yeah.
Thank God I have a good cat. But I'm concerned also with the high school right next door.
Oh, yeah.
And those sports fields are loaded with kids. They're not the, but there's a huge dumpster there, and I'm just, I just said I couldn't take for the answer is, well, we're working on it and we're trying. I said we need to get the garbage picked up, number one, so the rats won't multiply and because Orkin has told ACCT that until you get the garbage picked up, it's really not. They're not going to go to the bait if they got the garbage to eat.
Right.
Doesn't the high school even have that composting bin open for those?
They do have an opening cost compost.
So has there been discussion with the Department of Health?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and
What legally
Right,
Ted
right.
can do?
Yeah, so in the town health officer's absence, the deputy could initiate the process for a public health order. And only the select board can issue, or as the Board of Health can issue a public health order, or the town health officer can issue an emergency public health order. But in each case, a specific process has to be followed of investigation, the gathering of evidence and documentation of evidence, a certain notification of due process to the owner that has to be served by a sheriff, and then a public hearing. So it's not a quick process. And
If I may, and I don't want to be rude, but we're 3 weeks into this. This could have been done 3 weeks ago.
I
We could have
learned of it
started.
Monday.
No, I understand. But the phone call started, and I understand, certainly don't begrudge anyone for being sick. But there's no procedure in place for Diane being sick. That's what we're addressing now. But I hear again, May. That's 2 weeks from now, and by the way, we've got, 5 children under 11 years old running around the neighborhood, that some of them are scared to go outside. 2, 3, 4, 5 more weeks. If we had the procedures in place, or had the foresight to have a procedure in place to pick up the ball when she was sick, then we could have been well along by now. We could have been on the road to having this solved.
But I also think, I don't disagree with you, but I also think ACCT is at fault. They should have been communicating with everybody around to let you know, look, we have a problem. You heard from Orkin.
I found, that's how we knew that this wasn't our problem, was
Right.
Orkin came and knocked on our door and said, are you having a problem because there's a problem in the trailer park? And
To me,
I
that's
said,
unacceptable.
no, we're not having a problem, but thanks for letting us know. We'll keep our garage doors open or closed, and that's how we knew when we started to see them, this is not, they're
It's not coming from my house.
here.
Right.
And now you are having a problem?
We've had,
Oh, absolutely.
yes.
No, I know you folks
Yes,
do. I didn't know that you were too.
They gotta go to their place, they gotta go through their place.
Yes,
It's side by
the
side.
first weekend, there were some, and the second weekend, it was absolutely mortifying to you look out the window, you could easily count 5 that you were seeing. They were up
We're not
against
talking
the.
about mice either. We're talking about,
Yeah, right.
yeah, I hope you got a big cat, because these are very hardy.
I hope they don't come across the road to my place. The garage is locked.
And
But
they're moving fast. That first weekend they were on our back property line. By the following weekend they were on Michelle's property. They were in our front yard and in the Germans and the Pearlie's yard. And
And what I saw Thursday night was, and I had one of the owners, not the owners that wanted to see the trailer, but one of the tenants over there took me around. And he said, that shed right there, and we looked, and garbage just full of shit. It's not just that one trailer. That part, it needs some work. And she told us Wednesday morning that it's, to what she said, they own 9 of them, and this is the worst one they have.
And
With the junk around.
not to make excuses for anybody, but to help put some of this possibly in context. The community trust went through a change in leadership recently, so they have a new executive director, and the person, Chris, who's now managing the parks, she took over the position in February. And so maybe it's partly due to those transitions and also with our health officer's issues that, she's had her own challenges to deal with, that maybe the combination of those things prevented this thing from getting further along.
They did take $100 worth from this trailer that the guy won't answer the door. The neighbors got together in the park and took $100 worth of trash to the transfer station, and they told him, and he said, well, I'm not going to pay that, and I don't plan on paying to get rid of my garbage. I'm just going to throw it outside. And so, and the trust does, to give them somewhat of a credit, there's 2 Casella dumpsters, those 90-gallon roll-off containers there, the things you roll around with a flip cover. There's 2 in every trailer. There, one for recycling, one for trash. So they do provide for people to put their stuff in. Whether, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. They're not going to pay to have their trash taken away. So, Jennifer? Yeah.
so am I understanding correctly that Ted can't start any of this process until May 1st?
That's my understanding.
Now, I hurt for Diane, and I'm sorry that she's in this position. If she were today to resign her position, would today the select board chair be able to take over that role and start tomorrow, getting the
It would
ball
default to him
rolling?
automatically.
And then when she is well, she can get her position back the first of the following month, or however that works. Because I'm just thinking in the last 2 weeks, the increase that we've seen, and now we're gonna wait 2 more weeks before we start something.
Valerie and I did discuss that. And we felt,
The question.
she's dealt a set of cards she didn't really, none of us want. And do we really want to ask her to resign? And no, exactly, Bill, I agree. And that's why I said to the trust, May 1st is, we talked with them last Wednesday, which was,
3 weeks away.
I said, that's 3 weeks from this coming Saturday. We're going to take 25 rats and make it 125 by that. They multiply like crazy.
A pair of breeding rats in a year can have 72 offspring.
Well, that's what I was thinking. In springtime, they're all going to be.
Right.
hatching.
Yeah, so I said, we can't wait until a dumpster's out there, and then you'd still, who's gonna take that stuff to the dumpster? So, Jesse, you had a question?
Yeah, I don't mean to add to, Joel, I work for the solid waste district at this point, so I did field a phone call from a Bristol resident who said she lived on Pleasant Street saying, do you think the rats are coming from the closed town dump? Like the land, she didn't realize of the trailer park issue, but was thinking they were coming from the old landfill. And then,
So she's got them on Pleasant Street?
On Pleasant Street?
yes, Dustin didn't seem to think they could travel that far, but yes, we fielded that phone call. Not knowing there was a rat issue, this was pre-board meeting.
Right,
And
I
then
talked with you Thursday at the board meeting. Yeah.
my colleague mentioned that kind of just to, I'm not saying ACT is trying to do this, but Green Up Day isn't meant to, we subsidize the trash that comes in, and pay for that as a district, but that's for roadside litter, not necessarily to be cleaning up people's negligence. So, it's a long time to wait till Green Up Day, and that's not necessarily the day to.
Yeah, they should be doing it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because they're gonna be paying for the trash no matter what. It's not roadside trash.
Well, you mentioned an emergency health order.
Well, that's
Can
where I
that
was
come from
going.
the state?
Well, no, it can come from this board, correctly?
After the investigation and the evidence and the notification and
well,
that
can-
process.
No, but you said
And
you-
that's gonna be a while.
Joel investigated.
Yeah.
I've been over there since, I went over,
Yeah.
I got Jennifer's thing Tuesday,
Yeah.
and I had Wednesday morning
I
off,
met
Monday or
with
Tuesday, and
Valerie
I
on
texted you
Monday.
back, and I drove through on Wednesday, and I saw all the garbage in that trailer, and then the other trailer that's abandoned, and last Thursday, they went to court and tried to get the ownership of that abandoned one. She thought they could. And the neighbors are saying, the other neighbor, I won't mention her name, I got out and talked with her, she goes, oh yeah, you can see them at night, they run from that garbage pile back to the abandoned trailer, back and forth, back and forth. So then I came down and called Chris, and I said to her, I said, that's 3 weeks from this Saturday, that's 25 days.
They'll be covered by then.
I said, that's way too long. I said, I want a dumpster, I said, my hands are tied, I'm only the chair, I'm not I says, and Diane is out right now, but I says, we need to do something because of the amount of children that live on the outskirts of that park and on the inside of that park. There's
Aren't
probably 25 or
aren't people inside complaining?
She told me that only one person has complained to her. And I said to her, do the people in this park, first of all, do they know that they can call somebody?
Right.
Do they know who to call? If I hadn't been alerted by Orkin, I'd have thought this was my problem, and this is kind of embarrassing to have rats around your house. I said, have you knocked on people's doors and asked, have you said, could you keep your eyes open and I'll be back in a week to check in and see if you've seen anything? And she told me, I am in the park every week.
She did tell us on Wednesday morning that they have sent a letter to all the park owners, tenants over
They're
there.
planning to, they're
Or
working on it.
are planning to, working on it, that, you need to pick up your yard, pick up your trash, and
Don't feed your pets outside.
don't feed your pets outside.
Not everybody can read.
Excuse me?
That's,
I
not
didn't hear you.
everybody can read in my experience, and that's not to be rude, but like, not everybody can read letters.
There's a lot of people that can choose not to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's another thing too, we have a neighbor that's not here tonight, Katie Gordon, and they've got outside storage. It's under a roof and it's contained, but it's not sealable. You can't close the door. And they've got
outside storage, is it a trash can?
No, as in storage.
Oh, storage.
Storage, sports equipment, things like that.
Okay.
And their outside storage has been pillaged, and much of it is ruined by the infestation of these rats. They've got I would say tens, if not hundreds of them that are just running in and out, and they're doing everything they can to stop it.
Where are
But
these
they've lost property because of it.
If you do an emergency order, do you have to go through the investigation process and the whole time frame in order to issue that? I mean, an emergency order to me is an emergency order. It's not like it takes 10 days to get to it.
I was even, after I left the phone call and left Valerie's office on Wednesday, I thought about making a phone call to Patrick Green, the superintendent. He might be I won't say pulse, but being a high school right next, that borders this problem, could say, yeah,
Well, maybe between the both of us.
we could call for emergency order and
There's a very specific process to
Yes,
issue
there
an
is.
emergency
It-
order,
it tends
and
to
you
read that
can't
right
just,
there,
you
yeah.
can't just do it. Because it's a legal document, it's a legal,
Well,
it's an
yeah,
appealable process, and.
I get that, but it's like,
The public health officer must identify the specific steps necessary to address the public health issue.
well, that's easy.
And we were advised that as long as the owner is cooperating, going through the time and expense of developing public health order may not be warranted.
Well, we're talking, the owner of the trailer park is
Yeah.
different than the owner of the trailer.
Yes,
And the
right.
owner of the trailer park may be working with us, but the owner of the trailer,
I
trailers are
understand.
not, right?
That's why there's a problem.
Yeah.
My other question is, where are these rats gonna go if they clean up all the food that the rats don't eat?
Well, that's what Orkin is saying, they would be able to come in and
Yeah,
hopefully
they-
try and,
They
Get
bait
rid of
them
them.
right there.
they bait them.
Boy, these folks should stop.
But they
Right.
won't.
But they're already at
They're
our
not gonna
house,
go to the
like,
bait stations if there's another food supply.
Right.
In this, you know, in this person's
Right.
trash, so. We can be
No, I
forever
understand.
trapping them and killing them and filling our trash cans with dead rats,
Ugh.
like I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're gonna keep coming as long as there's a food source
Right.
there close by off our property.
They're like roaches in a house. You can kill
Oh,
them
right,
if you want.
Yeah.
They're gonna be more
I know.
until a professional deals with it.
Yeah.
And please don't take this as a threat, but a lawsuit is an emergency too. I mean, that may get the gears going too, because if one child or person gets bit or gets a disease, or you start having serious health concerns, the emergency isn't coming, it's here. We
Right.
got it. It's widespread and it's getting bigger. I didn't know anything about the Pleasant Street thing, but that's shocking. Pleasant Street is a long, long way.
Was that an informational question, or was that a question related to these people on Pleasant Street actually seeing rats on their property?
I'm not aware, I just heard what she said.
I wasn't aware there were rats in the trailer park when I got the call, and I said, landfill closed in 2015, I don't think there's rats lodging themselves in there. And I said, I just recommended rat poison, and I said, have a great day.
And the guys at the town barn, they haven't seen any in the town barn. And
Okay.
there's a door,
which is
door
also
doesn't shut.
surprising.
That is surprising that they're.
And that's why because I said something, I was over the other morning, said, let's keep the break room cleaned up and things.
So are they kind of contained between your house, Bill's house?
And Gordon's.
Yes, we
That's
are.
amazing that
What
they're-
about Deb on the corner? Has she seen
I
any?
haven't talked to her.
I meant to see her on Saturday, but I was busy, so I was gonna talk with Deb.
I'll say this, with the moisture and everything down in the pit where they keep the stone and everything, I'll bet there's thousands of them down
I
there.
would bet that.
Well, my understanding, since I've been killing rats a lot lately, their behaviors, they tend to travel along the same path, and they'll make a new burrow where they have a food supply and water and what they need, but they only go about 100 to 150 feet from that burrow.
Yeah,
And
it's probably no more than,
so they're gonna move about
100 feet
100,
from
150
any trailer
feet
to the
at a
pile of
time
garbage
as they
outside.
need to make
When I
new
was over there
burrows
yesterday.
to get what they need.
But that'll keep getting farther and
They
farther
will keep
away. They
getting
keep
further
finding
and further
more
away.
food, yeah.
The ones we were seeing on our property had a burrow under part of the gorge, under the Gorton's porch. There was a lot of them. They had a very big burrow. You could see how it was sort of dug under, and it was sort of, they had sort of a crushed stone floor inside this porch that you could tell where the burrow was. And we think we've killed most of those rats that were from that burrow, but that was largely what we were seeing around Lawson Lane, was because they moved from the trailer park and created a burrow there on the Gordon's property under their porch.
Is there a way that ACCT would be responsible for now dealing with working for the people around that it's affecting?
I've asked, I've said, could our properties please be included in whatever, and I was not given a clear answer.
I'm sure you weren't,
We
'cause
are
that's money.
now, we are now $200 in the hole
Right.
on stuff that we've
You've had to
bought
buy.
to try to control our property, which is really maddening.
And the Gordons are hundreds, if
Oh, the
not thousands
Gordons.
of lost property that
Yeah.
have been infested and
And they
chewed
are working very hard. She wanted to be here tonight, but couldn't. But I spoke with her today, and they are
I
on
mean,
top
like
of.
sports equipment as in a glove or a bat, or not a bat, but
Soccer
a glove.
stuff.
Soccer, it's chewed.
It was a lot of Jacob's stuff that they'd held on to that
Okay.
they hadn't been part with.
Sorry. So that stuff
Now
got
they're
chewed
going to get rid
or
of it.
gnawed
They weren't
on.
really ready to get rid of it,
Yep.
even though he's not been with us for a long time. So
Yep.
they ruined a lot of his.
So when you said they were working hard, Jen, you were talking about ACCT?
No,
You were talking about
no, the
Gordon's-
Gortons.
Gordon's.
They were absolutely mortified when Dustin went over there and said, we got rats on our property and they're coming from here. And they went right out and got traps and baits and were killing them before we were, because we thought, well, let's keep them over and
What about everybody doing an invoice, keep track of what you're spending, and
Well,
start sending it to ACCT?
It wouldn't be a bad idea, at least.
Yeah, I mean, give them an idea how bad this is.
Yeah.
You know, how many people you are affecting by the lack of, I mean, and I'm not saying they're not trying, but, I mean, to me, the emergency's here.
It definitely is.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
thought
not-
that last Wednesday
in 2
when
weeks, it's
I had her
gonna
on
be
the
an
phone
epidemic.
with Valerie, we had her on speakerphone, and I went, these are here now, we can't wait 3 weeks.
What would happen if the job title got switched?
In what way?
What could happen if we switched the job title from the person who's not available now?
She would
You
have
mean
to
maybe-
resign. She would have to resign.
But then, and if she did,
Then it would automatically
Then
shift to
Joel
Joel.
could-
and then what could we do?
We'd have to go through the
It would
process.
still be the process.
You still have to follow the procedural.
Yep.
but the process
But would it
could
save us about
start
a
the
month?
day she resigns and not May 1st.
I don't see any reason why Ted can't start the process
I guess
now.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And maybe Ted will say,
I
maybe I
gotta
really
learn
don't wanna do
what the
it.
process is.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think,
I'm kind of new to this.
about 15
Thanks for
minutes.
stepping up.
You've been doing this for 22 minutes.
I'm a slow learner.
But, you know, even as much as if we gathered all the garbage with our loader and put it in a dumpster and lock the dumpster so they can't get it, you know, steal with it and say, as you said, well, we gotta gather evidence and this, yeah, we got it all, we didn't dump, your personal property is sitting over there in a can.
Right. We've got it contained.
We got it contained. We didn't throw it out,
We
you
didn't
want?
destroy it, it's still yours.
Yeah, so Jesse?
Well, sorry to keep this going. Last question. He or she must be mentally ill, and what happens?
I don't think they're mentally ill.
No, I don't believe he is.
No?
It's a male. Yeah, I don't believe he is.
I think you must be
Maintenance
mentally
and
ill to just be
disability.
putting
Maybe
it.
stubborn.
He must be living with them, and they must be in
I
his
would think
home.
so, yeah.
I mean, the neighbor across, as you drive into the main road, the one on the left there, weighs in, said, oh yeah, we've seen them in our closet or so, and we've put traps out in our house.
They've got to be, anytime I speak with Chris, all I hear is, well, I didn't hear anything from that
That's 'cause
person. I haven't
nobody's-
heard from the Gortons. I haven't heard from,
Because nobody's calling to complain.
Well, she
If
heard from
people-
me, but
People
you know,
need to, yeah, but I'm not just talking people on the outside.
So-
People on the inside need to be complaining too.
but again, if you think it's your fault,
Right.
it's a very embarrassing thing to feel like this, that you have rats. And that's really hard for a lot of people to pick up the phone and admit. And if they don't know that it's not really their fault.
Right.
Makes it much easier to make those phone calls to blame it on somebody else.
Yeah.
Outside of the emergency requirements, is there anything else the town can do? Can the town go and actually clean up?
No,
No.
No,
No.
because it's private
No.
property, technically.
right.
I think we could, and this has been some great discussion, and I want some resolution on it. Why don't we at least let Ted get his feet wet, and he's already got water up above his ankles, so he's got his feet wet now already. And maybe
Tide is
the
right.
6 of us, or 5 of us, and Peter will be back at the end of the week.
And we
If you could, in the next 48 hours, call the health department, see what you could do now that we've appointed, even though they haven't officially given us a rubber stamp, say, well, this is the one we presented to you, and,
Well, there's nothing that says we can't do the investigation,
Yeah.
right.
you know.
And
And
so,
have it ready for when that time.
No, I've got to learn what
and he can call,
investigation,
Well, I
he can
think
call
that's
the
ACCT.
different steps, and
Right.
it would be a lovely thing to spend all this time on something that I skipped a step because I didn't know it was there, and now
Right.
We
we have
start
to
all
go
over
back to
again.
step one again.
I think if you can call the state Department of Health and say, I need somebody down here, we have a crisis situation. And
I can do that.
they very well may come.
You need us to call them too, let us know.
You say,
Yeah,
and if you
I
won't
would
listen to me,
recommend it.
I would call
Let us know
the
who.
superintendent, have them call you.
I tried,
Yeah.
and I seemed to not get anybody who knew where to direct my call, and I got directed to people who felt
no
really
idea.
bad for me, but weren't really the people I was supposed to talk to. So I would love a phone number or a name or an extension or something of somebody to call, because I just
And
was
also-
spinning wheels.
Also establish a timeline with the state police, not this past, but this previous Saturday. And she said, what would you like me to do? And I said, well, I'd like you to direct me to somebody that can help me on this, you know, and okay, so then she hooked me up with Bristol Police Department, which I knew where it was going. But again, the whole point of those conversations on Saturday was to establish a timeline, to establish a record. These people are calling and this is what is happening.
Maybe, like I said, give Ted some time to get his feet wet here, and he can get a name that, okay, such and such is going to come down. And then maybe Ted can text the Gorgons and the Mounts and the people over there and say, you make the phone call too, and say, yeah, I know you're coming to Bristol,
You know who you should also call, rather than Patrick Reed, maybe Devin Wendell, because he and the guys are usually outside or the facilities, Mike Orvis.
Joel's looking for clout.
Well, no, but I'm just saying.
That's
at
what I was
least-
looking for.
At least they might see them and
Yeah.
then let Patrick Reed know, who then can make that phone call.
Superintendent of schools calls the health department and says,
That's right.
we've got hundreds of rats next door.
Jen, I would recommend if you call to ask for the person who oversees the town health officers.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
and just call the Vermont State Health Department.
I'll
Okay.
forward to you the information that they sent to me, and I'm drawing a total blank on the woman's name, but it's the woman that oversees the town health
Yeah.
officers.
Well, you've got all our contact information on the sign-in list. If you'd forward that to us,
Great.
we will blow it up.
Did you give just your names, not your emails? Or you guys- we have
I
your-
put my telephone number on there.
Okay, okay,
And I can put an email on it as well.
okay.
As a matter of interest, what provisions are there for protecting pets from the different ways of getting rid of rats? Not Orkin, but,
No, I understood.
yeah,
Well, to be quite honest, like the snap traps and things like that, there's none.
yeah,
Right.
There's another consideration.
yes.
The bait stations are, you know, they're certain, their size, so only a small rodent.
Oh, I know what the
they're
stations look like. I'm thinking of snap traps. And
No, I mean, I really don't like having them around my house with, you know, my little kids.
Sure.
And everything.
So they don't want the bait stations out, they just rather have the snap traps out.
The snap
Right.
traps get the squirrels and the
And-
chickens and.
And your cat and the kids.
Yeah.
Kids' toes.
Yeah. Anything more? We hear you.
Just keep on it.
I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but yeah, I think Ted will be right on it.
Morning, I'll do what I can.
Make
Ted
a
will
lot
be
of
right on
noise.
it, I know he will. Okay,
Make a lot of noise.
and I know, like I said, I've talked with Terry and Don and Jesse last Thursday night at the board, Addison County Solid Waste District meeting board, kind of just gave them a heads up on, you know, they're going to ask for some trash, or, you know, some forgiveness on the trash, and I went, that might be a it's not Green Up Day trash, so, but I said, they have to work that out with the Solid Waste District, so. But anyway.
I'm really sorry you have to put up with
Yes.
Well,
It's
get ready,
disgusting.
because it's not gonna be just us if something doesn't get done.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So get ready.
Be mowing some over.
If they don't do something about it, yeah, it's just gonna get worse and worse
I'll
and
have to
worse.
mow some over on that lawn.
I was gonna ask you that. So go over there with your lawnmower, just don't spray it towards Jen's house.
No, but, okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, continuing review of Selectboard schedule, goals, priorities for 2019, 2020. You guys don't have to leave, I gotta get back, it's all. Who's watching the kids?
I got a thing.
Oh,
The mother-in-law.
okay.
So I have questions before we get into this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we The West Street project, my understanding, we haven't bonded for that yet, but it's done. How come we haven't bonded for it?
Well, it's,
But there was a 1 year or
we
something.
have a line of credit with the bank, and we need to submit the final paperwork to USDA Rural Development and get the loan documents through them.
So is that in the process?
It is.
Okay, so that, I didn't see it on here, so that's why I wanted to.
Yeah,
Make sure that was in the.
I've been going back and forth with Green Mountain Engineering on the final requisition figures because my ledger is, they don't quite align and I'm trying to
Okay.
understand why.
Okay.
Okay. I wrote down here a little note because we got that email from Chris Lathrop late this afternoon from Invoice and King about the paving,
And a public
that
information
public
meeting
information meeting. Go ahead, Valerie.
for May, because we have the Main Street lighting and design, lighting and sidewalk project, and also the paving project, and there may be an opportunity to combine both of those public information meetings into a combined meeting at a regularly scheduled select board meeting.
Yeah.
So that would be a pretty full scope of presentation.
Yeah.
So whether you'd want it to occupy a regular select board meeting or have a special meeting, or keep them separate, I mean, kind of diving into the weeds on that particular topic.
Well, if we did the public meeting, we'd have to do it upstairs. We could, I would say we could probably do them both, but I can't imagine there's gonna be a lot.
No, I don't think there's gonna be a
I
lot.
bet we could do it down here.
I bet we could do it
Maybe.
down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would plan on, if May 13th is the best, that I would do it all at the same time.
And I had a couple of ideas or goals that I'd like to see the board look at.
Ones that aren't already on here?
Now,
You were asked last week, come
Yeah,
on,
they're
the
on
last
here.
meeting.
they're on here, somewhere buried in there,
Yeah.
is with some target dates of not, it seems like we've talked about it and talked about it and talked about it over the years I've been on the board. Was one of my goals would be by the by the police annual meeting, budget meeting in June of 2020, so give them a whole year, a little over a year. You know, we were asked again at town meeting this year, we were asked last year about what's the possibility of going townwide.
That's in here. Townwide police
there.
Right, so
accountability.
I'd like to not just leave it there and say, well, we keep, my standard answer this year was, well, we've been working on it and we're, it hasn't been. I'd like to either fish or cut bait with that and have a committee appointed and what it's going to be, and maybe it's something that we present, if it's favorable, we present at March 2020 as an advisory question, and then, so in November of 2020, at general election, we vote either yay or nay after the study's been done. That's what I'd like to see, after the study's been done, on whether we do that. So that's my thought. I bet we've been asked now the last 3 or 4 years at town meeting that I've been on this board, are your thoughts about going townwide? When are we going to get more police protection? So, and I'd like to.
Well, that's not the question that I hear, is when am I gonna get more police protection? When is the cost of the police department gonna get spread out in the whole town?
Well, okay, Peter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you had a question?
Okay. 19 years we've been playing with this thing. Stonewall, all of those years, as you guys know. We don't need another committee. We have all the information. We've done this research for how long? You've been on it with myself, you and Randy have done numerous hours of research. All we have to do, if you want to get this thing going, we spend money on other items. We give $10,000 to CORE for private enterprise, for business. Why don't we just get a mailing out with a postcard that they can return that says simply, one, do you support expansion of the police department to the townwide? Number two, this is what we figured it would cost for expansion per, we had figures on this, how much the tax rate would be. And number three, would you attend an informational meeting concerning it? Very simple. We're gonna waste all time on form another committee when we have all that research done.
What I'm saying is the committee will take that research that we've already done and maybe make a mailer or something, or, as I said, something to, we seem to, this is like this, it rises and we haven't done anything.
I mean,
It's too-
ultimately, you're gonna have a public hearing.
Right.
Meeting.
Yes.
So, you know, that's what you might as well gear towards, put that information into a PowerPoint, whatever.
Exactly.
And give the people the information so that they can have a discussion and then make a decision, because eventually it's gotta be voted on.
Right, oh, yes,
So
absolutely.
you might,
It's not
yeah, I
gonna
mean,
come
if
from
you've
these
got all
folks.
that information already done, why doesn't the police advisory committee work together, put a PowerPoint together and set up a public hearing?
Police advisory.
You're looking at
committee
me like
is more-
I've got two words coming out of my head.
No, I just,
I mean, but if you've already done the research, you have the numbers,
We-
you have the figures, don't you?
it's stale. That
But how
information is
long would it
stale.
take you to put it together? How long would it take the police advisory committee and the police department, or Bruce, or whoever,
We'd have
put all
to,
that together?
well, before we changed, and we kept asking for, you gotta have a budget first, townwide budget, and that's what we'd have to ask Bruce to, okay. But is the board, that's what I thought the committee would kind of, I won't say a committee, but something would be done to say, you know what, this is feasible or it's not. It's feasible to at least get the we gotta get the public to weigh in on it.
Whether it's feasible or not.
And if they
I think
say,
you
no,
need
we don't
public-
wanna expand, we don't wanna go townwide, then we put the thing to bed and it's over with.
I mean, feasible or not, I think you need to get the public input.
Yeah.
Whether
Oh,
we think- Whether we think
absolutely,
it's feasible or
100%,
not,
I'm
doesn't matter.
That's what I was suggesting, put out this mailer, and you're gonna find out, we had numerous surveys over the years, and it was always 50-50, a lot were against it, one survey, a lot were for it.
Yeah.
I won't get into personnel matters, but there was
But it-
reasons why people didn't want it.
Yeah.
Put out a mailing and let them respond with a postcard so we know where we're going. Why waste time? And then at that point, we can put together anything we need for an informational meeting. But you gotta have a realistic budget. You can't just have a budget to try to save money and do it with what we have now. It's just impossible
I'm not sure that I'd send out a card. I think I would just gather your information and get your public
and
hearing.
set a public meeting. That's just
Yeah.
as good too. That's just as good too.
So,
Peter?
point of order. Our charge was to pick 5, every one of us picked 5 of these things. And then we were gonna see
Yeah.
where, if this is
Okay.
not on my top 5.
Okay, well, I'll bring it up at a later date.
Yeah, but, well, we'll see.
But maybe we won't,
If
right.
if the other 4, if it's
Right.
in their top 5, then good. But to spend time talking about it and we don't even know yet
Okay.
which ones we want.
Right, okay. Okay, so,
Do you wanna start with your top 5?
um,
So this is page 2, and this
I can't
is
even- hold
current
on.
and pending projects, and this would be, uh,
That's all I had.
Current and pending?
well,
I would just say pending.
I just
okay,
did
focus
pending.
on pending.
Yeah, because I didn't deal with the current because they were already underway.
What did I do with that sheet?
I saw it over here.
Because I have
Oh, I have that.
this one from the last meeting.
Oh,
Well, it's on the back of this.
It's on the schedule, it's the next page. It was in the packet.
I just had
It's
it.
amazing how these get out of order.
I know, and when they get out of order,
I
they,
worked so hard to keep. Okay.
I'm
want
just
one of
gonna
us
work
to go
off
first?
this.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So my top 5 are the police department policies, water ordinance, sewer ordinance, the class 4 road maintenance policies, and private roads. I think you need to put on there because we have some private roads that we do, and the town garage building
So you
improvements,
need
replacements.
to slow down just a little bit. I didn't catch any of that.
Police department policies,
Okay?
water ordinance update, sewer ordinance update, class 4 road maintenance policies, and town garage building improvements replacement eval.
Okay.
And mine were,
Sorry, hang on, what was your last one?
Town garage building improvements replacement evaluation.
were the police department policies review, the class 4 road maintenance, the Mount Street sidewalk replacement, and others.
So we're, okay, yeah.
The town garage and the subdivision regulations.
See, I look at the Mountain Street sidewalk, that's gonna happen this summer, so I kind of looked at that as already in the process.
Yeah.
Well, it is kind of,
Peter, what was your
It is, but it,
police department
nothing's
review?
happened.
Policy review?
Class 4 roads.
Class 4 roads. And I missed one of them, the mountain sidewalk, Mountain Street,
Sidewalk.
town garage.
town garage and subdivision. Next to last.
Oh, next to the last one. Ted?
Yeah, I had the Mountain Street sidewalk listed as current, which is something that we discussed at the last meeting.
We did, and
So I didn't put that.
Which one did you say,
the
Ted?
reason it's
Mountain
stayed on pending is because absolutely nothing has been done to move it forward.
Yeah, okay.
So that's really why.
So what I had was the fire department policies review and the police department policies review as number one. Both
As
of
a
those.
tumult, as a combine?
Yes, get those done. Second was winter maintenance policies, road, sidewalk, salt, sand, etc.
Where's that? Where's that one? Winter-
Huh?
Under class
Okay, yeah,
4.
I'd say-
Winter maintenance.
Yeah.
3 I had as townwide police department feasibility. 4 I had as town garage building improvements. And 5, the new police station feasibility study.
Okay.
Okay, Joel.
Well, I have townwide police department feasibility study, town garage, I think we all had that. Winter road maintenance. And I have water, you call it water ordinance update. I wanted to expand that, but and that was one of my goals is in the next 2 years is, and it may come back, it may be next year, a goal of mine for the water is, we got this report, beautiful report from Green Mountain Engineering a few years ago that shows us the date of every pipe in the ground and where everything is, and it seems to be sitting on the shelf in there. And I'd like to, here again, I don't want to beat the committee to death here, Jimmy, but is by, maybe in 18 months, we come up with a strategic plan to replace our water pipes in the ground over a long range, maybe 20, 25-year plan, and what that bond would cost. But, our water department is the most important thing in this town for this water district. And it's expanding, and I want to make sure we don't end up like the city of Rutland where they're looking at over $100 million to replace all their pipes. And I know we're not the city of Rutland, don't get me wrong, but we got a lot of old pipes in the ground, and we keep saying, well, we're going to replace them. Pine Street's been on the list for when Therese was here. And well, we're not going to pave it until we put water lines down through there. So it's a water issue. It's not an ordinance, I get that. But I don't know where that would fit, so. Okay?
Well, I somewhat agree that the Mountain Street is kind of current, even though it hasn't started yet.
Right.
But it's going to happen.
Right.
So I would take that vote away and I would put it up to the winter maintenance policy.
Okay, Peter.
Gotcha.
Ted, you said Milton Street sidewalk replacement bid in construction.
No, I did not. I said that was listed as current at the last meeting.
Okay, I put a T there. Okay.
So the top 3 so far are the police department policies review, winter maintenance policies, and town garage building
Well,
improvements.
town garage is 4,
Right.
and the other two
All 4
have
of us
3.
vote.
Right, but in terms of
Right.
the things that got the most votes
Yeah.
altogether.
And I do believe the police station feasibility is critical, but I think we have another year before we need to start.
That's why I didn't pick that one.
Yeah,
Until we
yeah.
had-
Well, I didn't put that in, Peter,
I'm thinking that
until we answer it.
now. A year is going to go by, but
Why I didn't Ted put a T, Ted thought of that, and I didn't because I thought we needed to answer the question. Do we need to build a building before we know what the size of the building needs to be, whether the size of our apartment's gonna be? That's why I didn't put down a expansion.
Even if you go townwide.
If we go, that was the question that's why I didn't put my name there on that until I answered the question, Are we just always gonna be a village or a district?
We don't know the end. I think we do the same thing we did for the fire station. We build it for what we think is gonna happen, may happen in the next 100 years.
And the feasibility study doesn't mean that we're gonna size the building right now.
No.
No, you're right, Ted. I agree.
Joel, what was your last one? Because I have your townwide police department, town garage, winter road maintenance, and water ordinance update.
And
Must be the fire
subdivision
department.
regulations.
You did subdivision? Because you guys had the fire department policies. And
I didn't. I only had police department.
Yeah, I didn't.
So you said you had
Yeah, that was
two
my
with
fifth
three.
one.
What was the second one with three?
Winter maintenance and police department policies.
Well, who had the police department policies? Ted and...
Michelle, Peter, and Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did, Peter?
I had
You
a
the fire
combination of
department.
fire
I
and
did not.
Oh,
Fire.
that was police, okay. Okay.
All right. Well, that's very helpful. So looking at those plus the current projects, that gives you a snapshot of
We're gonna start working 8 days a week.
I think a cloning would be.
So let's look at the schedule then on page 1. I don't.
You love to meet on Memorial Day, don't you?
No.
It just,
It does.
Every year since I've been on the board. it matters.
Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just out there because it might affect, I mean, even though we might be available, it might affect citizens who would want to attend but can't. So that's a question, whether we stick to those dates. And if we do decide to change them, do we bump a whole week or do we go like to the Tuesday?
13th and the 20th.
Yeah, or,
Oh.
Aha.
New
thoughts.
I would just leave it.
okay,
I mean, personally, I don't really, by that time at night, we're not,
Yeah.
most of us are home because everybody's gotta go to work the next morning anyway. I said
Maybe I'm
most
the only-
of us, not those of us who are retired.
Maybe that December 23rd.
right.
Yeah.
Move that one. Maybe to. Yeah.
Well, or this year
You could do it on
we
the
skipped it.
20th.
Well, because,
We went 3 weeks in December without a meeting.
right,
Right.
yeah, we
Right.
did that twice. We went 3 weeks because of holidays.
Or you can move it up to the 16th.
That one,
Right.
that one just might be hard because we start doing budget stuff.
Yeah.
then.
So meet on the 9th and the 16th
I
in
think that
December.
makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, and Veterans Day is another holiday.
Yeah, well, I don't get that off.
So not meeting the 6th, the 23rd,
Right.
Right.
That's what we
meeting
need.
the 6th,
December
Right.
16th,
and then you'll resume.
6.
January 6th.
If I could just add maybe by November, the November 25th meeting, we start at 6.
Okay.
Pickers Pit will be closed by then.
Okay.
Ted's not looking forward to that.
Well, you like the 7?
Yeah, he does.
What's that?
You like the 7 o'clock one or the 6 o'clock?
He does.
I like the 7 o'clock.
Me too. I don't have to rush back from Burlington.
So,
Okay.
so
That's
this,
it for now.
yeah, so this, that first page gives
Subject
you
to-
an idea of what is already on the docket for those meetings, for those benchmarks, and we'll do the best we can to slide the rest in, depending on what other things pop up that we hadn't planned on.
Isn't that every week something that happens?
Yep.
What are the chances?
Okay, anything else? Local emergency management plan review and adoption.
So, did I hand them out already?
Yes.
Okay, did I leave one for myself? Yes. So as I mentioned in my notes, this format is a bit different than the format that we've been working from, and it didn't quite entirely the dots didn't entirely connect so that I could just copy one over to the other. And it might be helpful just to go through page by page and see where you can help me fill in some blanks.
Just on number 2,
Right.
actually, technically it's EOC manager.
Not director?
Actually, that came in, that was pre-filled.
Oh, was it?
It was, but, so EOC manager?
Yes. Under ICS. that's what
Right.
it would be. And,
I think it's under, it was on your table.
It was on the table, it's not in your packet.
Oh, so it's in my.
No, it was sitting on the table here.
I have an extra. Here's an extra. So currently, I'm the emergency management director and Peter is the deputy. So in section 2, this is somewhat new, and it said EOC director supervises all EOC activities, coordinating municipal support and response. That was kind of already pre-filled in. To be honest, and we started to talk about this in our tabletop training preparations about inviting other people into the EOC in an event to staff the phones and do things like that. So I wasn't sure what to put in that line about that says staff phones and radio. And I also wasn't able to find a copy of the organizational chart, an ICS organizational chart. If we had filled one in last year, the year before, with names about who was who, for some reason I have not been able to put my hands on it, which would be helpful for this kind of thing. And I think we should do that anyway, and find that chart and fill the names in.
So under that, the EOC director, manager, whatever you want to call them, and unless it's early on, we don't have people in here, will not be answering the phones and the radio. Your job is to just oversee and making sure all of this is getting done.
Right.
Tracks and answers questions for information should be the PIO, I believe.
Okay.
And,
So is that Mark?
yes.
That one I did fill in right there.
And, tracks and coordinates any requests for support, which would be like logistics, so you have somebody.
So Peter, I thought tracks and answers and requests for information, Mark gets that information from maybe you or I see it.
Gets it from multiple places.
And then he then does that.
He
Okay,
puts
I
it
didn't
all
know.
together,
I
yes.
thought that information comes from the deputy or the director, and then he puts it in a press release to release it out. No?
Yeah, it could go through your planning section, but I think for our purposes.
We could put him there then.
Yeah.
PIO. Okay.
So which folks would staff phones and radio?
Those would be some of the potential staff members who you could have down. I mean, Sharon, if she's able to get here, and Jen, and other people that we talked about at that tabletop meeting.
Right.
They're the ones, we just give them some just-in-time information. This is the information you need to take and who you need to tell it to. And it's a callback number.
So on that list of potential EOC staff members, I did take names from that list we began to generate, but I wasn't sure how far to go down. These three seemed like a pretty safe bet for availability and willingness, but I wasn't sure about the others.
I would make that list as long as you can, because you don't know who's going to be impacted. It's not going to be able, because they're going to stay and take care of their personal property and their family, or maybe away, or whatever. So I think at least fill in all of those lines.
Okay. Will do.
Also, should my landline be down there?
Oh, sure.
453-3751.
3751.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing I would But we skipped down under the equipment notes for the primary EOC that it has backup power.
Oh, right, good.
That's critical.
Where's that, Peter?
Under
Right,
primary.
first page.
Oh, first page.
Yeah.
Oh, equipment notes, okay, yes, sorry. Now, we don't have anybody in there, tracks and coordinates any requests for support.
Well,
That would be
see,
logistics, whoever's the
yeah, that would
logistics
be
person.
whoever she assigns to do
Okay.
logistics.
Oh, okay.
You know, somebody, it might be Jen, because she knows, and she's got a checkbook, all the things that are going on. Or who's available, you know, a lot, maybe private contractors if we need to step out and get somebody like that.
Okay. But there was, I can remember a list, it's quite long. Where,
Oh, well, we did, Therese did a very good job
had
of
like
putting that
four-wheelers
together.
and cranes and, you know.
Well, that's
crane.
further on, that's later on, what we have, what's available.
Yeah, Eric and Therese, Eric Foran had begun to do that, but some of the things were still blank.
Yeah.
But they started to do it. So number 3, purchasing agents for emergencies.
I would say that our town treasurer would be the first person there. But we do need to, and I don't even know if we have an ordinance over emergency spending.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you just, you know, Eric may need to get 3 private excavators in here to take care of something, and so that's something that we need to talk about. You know, what do we do in that situation? You know, I know the state and V-Trans has a lot of MOUs with private contractors. Peaker's one of them. And
Right.
He's done, and floods, you know, they call him and he stops whatever he's doing.
And that's the next section on this,
Yeah.
on this part, is that list of municipal contracts.
Right.
And other local
Hey,
resources.
yeah, you could, yeah, there's a bunch you could put in there. You know,
Right.
I know Masterson's does the work for
Yeah.
us, Speaker is there
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
there's, yeah, there's a lot of, but again, just not knowing what type of a crisis, you know, what if it's a cyber crisis, what do you call, and do you list somebody for that?
Well, here, maybe that company that we just
Yeah.
contracted with
Yeah.
should go in there.
So there's, I think, an unlimited list.
Right, and I think the folks like Masterson's would be under other local resources.
Yes.
Because
Oh, right.
there we just kind of pick up the phone, but we don't have an actual contract with them.
Well,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Right,
I list
yeah,
all,
right.
all of the
Yeah.
excavators in our area.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Trucking firms and, you know.
Right.
yeah. I know in the '98 flood when
We lost,
116,
Markdale.
yeah, they activated the National Guard and they ran dump trucks 24 hours a day till they filled that hole, and it was pretty impressive. And,
So can you think of businesses that we have standing municipal contracts with already?
I'm not aware of any. Jen would know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know that we have any standing contracts with anybody.
other than
VTUMs.
VTUMs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And maybe the oil companies for fuel.
Yeah, but that's yearly. I mean,
Yeah.
we go with them yearly, that's not, we have a contract with them
Yeah,
every.
but with R&L, with our trash, and it could be, I don't know if it could be, you could have a trash emergency, or was it?
We do.
We do, so, you know, should they go down there, you know? So we could say, you're gonna set a dumpster up, or a roll-off over there, or a compactor, and we're gonna fill it.
Well, and another one is, you know, for food. You know, if you're in Activate in EOC, you've got to feed the people. And probably any of them, the restaurants would do the best they could to,
Right.
but if they can't get food here.
Right.
And, I know, can't remember which flood it was. 98 or 04, Middlebury College sent up a bunch of food.
Oh, I think it was 04.
Yeah, I think it was 04 to the firehouse, and people came from all over the community to. That one was in the summer. There's a ice storm where we really needed a lot because nobody had power.
Was that 98?
That was 98 as well. 98 was a big year.
Yeah, 98 in January, and then again in the summer.
Yeah. End of June.
End of June, yeah.
Okay. So the table on page 3, I copied over from the current plan. Page 4, public information and warning. So, I propose, I'm gonna develop a standalone list of newspaper, radio, TV, and other kinds of media outlets. Attach that.
So I think under the second one, obviously the town website, our Facebook page, the Twitter that you have now, and and even back when I was still working, we were starting to learn that young people, that's the way they get information, is through those types of things. So.
Are there any other like Meet TV maybe, or?
I don't think Sandy Jump is the principal there anymore. Bristol Elementary.
No, that's Kevin.
So moving off of section 4, then in vulnerable populations, I copied that over from the current plan.
Yeah.
Are there any others that should be added?
There are a handful of people that take care of the elderly.
But not as official.
Well, it's,
How about at least Meals on Wheels should be notified? If they can't get to their, I don't know how many, Ted, do you know how many people they serve a day?
You mean
here? Meals on Wheels?
I don't know how many they serve. I know how many I do.
Heather. And,
Is there a contact person or contact number?
Yeah, let me get it again.
contact somebody that Tracy does in that house.
I mean, I think Meals on Wheels ought to be there.
Okay, that's a good one.
Because they're serving.
Sure.
I mean, that's no different than daycare.
Right.
Yeah, Project Independence might be on one to go.
So, yeah, I guess I would, any home people that take care of the elderly that are registered with the state, we just named 4 real quick, just chattering right here, so they're aware of it.
How would I find who they are?
That's a good question.
I don't know, do they have to be registered with the state?
This has changed too.
Yeah.
No, I would think so.
Like Orbis now.
Okay, well, we can come back to that. Number 6, shelters. Regional shelter,
Well, Mount Abe, that's my Kenyon anymore, it's Mike Orvis.
Yeah, I just told her that.
And I don't know what his cell phone is.
Well, it's probably 989-9753.
he's down below as the alternate on the elementary school.
Yeah, but he's now at the high school.
He's now at the high school, he's not at the
No.
So he's not at the elementary
elementary
anymore.
school.
No.
I'm not sure who's at the elementary.
Okay.
That's Alan. Yeah,
Alan.
Alan Kimball now is back.
So is Mount Abe the regional shelter, or is there another one?
We used that 204, didn't we, Peter? Or 98 ice storm, didn't we?
We activated that. I can't remember which one it was. No, we didn't activate it for the ice storm because they all came to the fire station. And they didn't have a generator then,
That's right.
That's what started the process for the high school to get a
That's
generator. Yeah.
They had one in '04.
Yes.
So they do have a generator.
Yes.
Do you know if they take pets?
I don't. I know the Red Cross used to not take pets, but that may have changed.
Well, I guess under vol, should we
Well-
put Addison County Home, or Addison County
Humane Society
Humane
Homeward
Society
Bound.
Homeward Bound here? You know?
I think these are vulnerable
Huh?
populations.
Take that many.
No.
The vulnerable populations are located in Bristol.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I was gonna say, they're working on creating an emergency animal, whatever, in Middlebury, for Addison County, so that's in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were, but I know, because it was a concern, because people weren't going to shelters because they couldn't bring their pet. They
Right.
could not leave the pet
Correct.
home. So, so back when I was working, the Red Cross was looking into how they were going to manage that. I don't know.
Yeah, they may have to have 2 separate locations
Yeah.
just because of
Well,
allergies
yeah,
and
mhm.
putting animals together that may not get along, all that other stuff.
Because I remember.
The middle school, the elementary school does not have a generator, do they?
No. Not that I'm
No.
aware of, no.
I don't think they do.
Peter, didn't we, in 2004, when the road washed out, we used Actor to, remember people would walk to the Lord's Prayer Rock because they could only park to there and they'd walk in, or, did we use their busing for some things?
I don't remember that. That was 98.
Or 98, then when we lost the road.
Let's list that as another local resource.
If we needed busing, we could go through the state EOC because they had MOUs with,
Oh.
and I know Actor's one of them because I remember using them to help evacuate the camp up in Goshen when they got flooded.
Oh, yeah.
There's a phone number for Meals on Wheels. I can't find the information I'm looking for.
Okay. So I didn't know what to put in there in that same area about annexes, which are optional, so I left it blank. Then the next section on contact info.
You have my info under Eric Torrance' name.
Oh,
This is my
I was
phone.
copying and pasting.
Yes, you did.
Cut and paste.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got tired of it and I stopped filling them in, but you know, I'll finish, that's easy to fill in.
Yeah, the road.
Yeah. So I can deal with that. What's the current local dispatch source?
Shelburne, isn't it?
Might be Shelburne.
Yes.
Shelburne does. Bristol Rescue and
Bristol Fire, yeah.
Bristol Fire.
Okey-dokey.
Got a good start.
So I guess that's it.
This is one of these pending things still work in progress.
Yep. So I'll tidy this up and this will be on the next agenda to be finalized.
Trying to get to
and
you,
approved.
Kristen. So, okay.
So, I'm not sure if the entire board is aware of our conversation that we had with Max Kennedy from BDM to set up a tabletop exercise that we're going to
That's
do
in September, right?
September, October. We haven't set a firm date for it yet.
Actually, that one is going to be in June. The tabletop exercise is going to be in June.
Oh, that's right, and then October
And
is
the
statewide.
statewide
The statewide.
category
That's
4
Backdrop,
is in
yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was for the select board to attend?
This is,
Or is
yeah,
it during a meeting?
this is going to be all the people that we're here. No, it's not going to be during a meeting. It's going to be a separate thing. And,
The statewide thing, it's gonna be an all-day.
yes.
A day and a half.
That's, it's multi-day. We don't have to participate both days. But what they want to do is to get people calling them, and it's more of a test for them than it is for the towns, but it's good for the towns to, here's the process that you go through. And I know a guy called me today from regional planning, asking if there was any damage. And,
From the rain?
Yeah, and so they've set up something different. Because I know during Irene, we were taking calls from every town in the state, and it was very difficult. So it's been broken down a little more now.
So the process now that you've brought that up, I've been working with this statewide group planning for this October exercise. And a number of towns are participating, including a lot of different state agencies and federal agencies. And in this part of this planning process is coming up with what are the local elements that we as an EOC will be responding to. So I kind of have to make them up. For example, and I'm not supposed to reveal ahead of time what it is. So if, like we need to, this is going to be a training exercise to see how prepared we are to respond quickly to something that we may or may not have anticipated. So, now, in the event of a storm, of course, we get some sort of warning ahead of time. But
We didn't.
Right, and we might not get warnings of the certain damages that happen as a result of a particular event, whether it's a flood or ice storm or whatever. And so I'm in the process now of developing some of these, what they call injects, specific emergencies, localized emergencies that we have to react to. And how do we do it? And we're actually going to be evaluated on how we do this, how well we do.
The biggest issue that we had in the ice storm, other than people in Vermont don't go to shelters. They will go during the day and get a warm meal and warm up their bodies, but they will go home at night and put 17 blankets on their bed and stay in their house at night, even if they don't have any heat. But the biggest problem we had was people calling because it warmed up after it rained in the ice, and the water started running into basements, and nobody had power. And so their sump pumps weren't working, and so we actually set up a circuit of people just going with pumps, and we brought far away as Heinsberg that came down and with their pumps to pump out basements. And then
Heinsberg, you have a problem?
No,
I can remember going because I spent 2 nights on the couch at the old fire station and listened to that great big generator out back, and I went twice to East Middlebury at the Gulf Station.
Yeah.
That was the only place, because they didn't have any ice storm down. They didn't have it after the cobble. So that's where we could get gas for the generator, diesel. So, yeah. Glad that don't happen every day.
okay,
Okay, were you?
that's a very good start.
I remembered her name.
Yeah. Conservation Commission updates. Christian, come on up. I'm sorry you've sat through all this.
Way past my bedtime.
Mine too.
Okay. Saw her at a table for Valerie's email and stuff that the appraisal came in.
Yep, appraisal came in.
And we aren't necessarily going to discuss the specifics of
Right.
that in open
You take it.
sessions.
Yep.
So we'll reserve that for executive session.
And at our most recent Conservation Commission meeting, which was just this Thursday evening, we discussed the appraisal and made a motion to make a recommendation to this board that we proceed with next steps, which would be exploring opportunities for grant funding for acquisition of the parcel. There are a couple possible grant funding sources. One is the Vermont Housing Conservation Board, and the other is the Agency of Natural Resources has an ecosystem restoration program that offers grants for floodplain properties. And this clearly is a floodplain property. In fact, today it was overtopped by the rain, by the flows in the New Haven River. So it's functioning well and working as a good stormwater management system in a way. So that's, I thought I'd come here tonight and just update you on that, and hear if you have any questions at all about our proposed next steps.
What's your thoughts, people?
I think they're doing excellent work.
Yeah, they do.
Really, really terrific.
The intention would be, if we were successful in raising the grant funding to acquire the parcel, it would require a subdivision to take those 15.4 acres away from the rest of the fuller lands.
Which would be how much left?
Roughly 6-ish, but it's around that. There's a homestead and
Right. Barns and stuff.
barns and so forth. And then those lands would be merged with the Saunders River access, so that would all become one parcel and have the existing right-of-way that already provides access to the Saunders River access parcel.
So this would be
That's
fee
original.
simple, not an easement.
It already has a river quarter easement
Right.
on it, and so this would be fee
Purchase.
simple. It would just be an outright purchase.
Okay.
So when I was looking at the appraisal, I was having a hard time with, because it was black and white gray shades.
Yes.
Did they deal with that piece that was landlocked?
They did.
So that's
That
all
was
gonna be all
included.
part.
Yeah, so the river quarter easement covers 14.7 acres presently. There's that little no man's island sliver, which is about 0.7, so the combined would be 15.4 acres. And they did the appraisal on that combined 15.4.
I noticed on page 7 of the appraisal here, they have the arrow, I believe, in the wrong spot where it says subject.
Yeah,
It's not, that's not.
you're right.
That is the Butler property.
Yeah,
The
correct.
subject is up here.
It is up there. You're
So I
right.
just, that's something that caught my eye.
Yeah, that's a
Reading
good-
tax maps, I knew that.
Yep,
What page is that?
Page 7.
yeah, because there's there's Brian Fox's little 1
Right,
acre.
right.
And so the arrow should be to the north of there.
To the north of there. So just something I spotted.
The lot 42?
Yeah, it should be lot 42.
Right. Yes. And the subject is on 78.7.
Yeah, yeah. Good catch, Joe.
Okay. Anything else? You need a motion on this too?
Not at this point, although there is another item on this topic, and that has to do with the Conservation Reserve Fund and kind of balancing out the expenses.
Well, do we really need to do a motion on that? I mean,
No,
we-
not necessarily,
I was
just
gonna say-
because the way it was left was that that the town
We
agreed
pay
to pay
and
contingent
reimburse.
upon.
Right.
And so the question is will the select board agree that this is a wash and that they don't have to continue to fundraise for
It looks
the...
like a wash.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as it's paid back.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I know Porter Knight did tell me that she tried to get grant funding from Neat Repeats and they declined, so.
Okay.
Good,
Anything
that'll
else
work
for
out.
us?
Joel?
Ian?
So I watched the video about that, about the money, the extra little bit. Can I make a recommendation that instead of for an amount as small as that it could just come out of the conservation fund next time and you could just ask for that? It seemed like such a small amount of money to have to then go and fundraise for when the conservation fund is there to be used for things like that. And so, yes, the money did go over, but it's not like it was a budgeted, like the conservation fund is a budgeted amount. It's a open fund for the Conservation Commission to use. And so it seemed unusual that you would, because you were over by $400 something, that you would then have to go fundraise that amount when you have a fund that you could pull from to help with that.
See your point? But I think we can.
Yeah, I don't remember why the reason was that it came about, other than that it was over what the select board had agreed to.
Correct. And we
Had agreed
obviously, as a commission, we obviously can't spend any money from
Right.
that fund without this
Their
board's
approval.
approval. And that's why we brought that to your attention at the time. We had asked for up to $2,000 for the appraisal, and that came in at $1,500, so we're $500
To the good.
to the good. And then the reverse happened on the engineering services for the Memorial Forest Park, so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Ian. I mean, other than the fact that the conservation funds are also used to purchase
Right.
properties, so we don't want them to get in a habit of keeping,
Exactly,
to
but
take money out of there, but
the
yes.
fact that they need to come and get select board approval, I think to come before the board and just ask and say, oh, this quote was over by $500, is it possible to use a conservation fund? Instead of having to go to fundraising to do that for a particular project.
So, to elaborate on Ian's question a minute, so it's Memorial Park that's over.
Memorial Park was over, and at the time, we
By
didn't.
$900 or 402?
400 and some. 400 and some odd.
440.
At the time, though, we didn't know that this appraisal was gonna come in under budget by
Right.
an equivalent amount, so for that reason, we promised to go see if we could find funds to make up the difference. But
I don't mind doing it that way.
If you can find it, if not.
No, take it from one hand, put it in the other.
Right,
You know.
or take it somewhere.
Yeah.
On a sidebar, remember when you were here a month or so ago and you talked about the bridge and stuff?
yes, at Memorial Forest Park Bridge.
Yes, and he said it's probably gonna last about 5 more years.
Yep.
And if you've all been down through the town down Middlebury, you'll see that walking bridge, that it's 42 feet long.
Okay.
It is, can be in 2 years, property of the town of Bristol for free.
Oh, nice.
I've worked that out with
Thank you.
Mark Alexander, Vice President of Kubricki Construction. He said, oh, when the day that you want it, you send a truck down, it's 40 feet long, and we'll load it for you.
Peter.
And Peter already said he will do it. I already told Peter before I committed to it.
40-foot long truck here?
So,
No.
Okay.
he said, I have a tractor, he said, I have a trailer, we'll hold that. So,
Okay. Excellent. I'll let Porter Knight know that as well.
so that will be in the spring of 2021.
It will become available if all goes well. Okay.
Excuse me.
2000.
No, excuse me, it's next spring,
2020. 2020.
Okay.
Summer or spring, late spring, early summer, he said, of 2020.
And is it a use it or lose it kind of thing? Like we should be right on top of that, or it goes to somebody
It can
else,
go in
or-
storage, it can go in storage of the town, but
Okay.
I went to AOT first, Tim Paquette, the supervisor down there,
Yeah.
and he said it's actually property of Kubricki's, and when all three of us got together,
Excellent.
and he said, we're fine, you want to give it away? And he says, we don't want that thing. Because
They'd have to deconstruct it. Right?
well, they have to take it back to Syracuse, New York, wherever they are, in Albany, put it in their yard, and he says, you want it? He says, it's going to go to the town of Bristol. I said, I'll get you a letter from Valerie and you.
Yeah.
And at a later date, but I told him who I was, select board chair, and he says, he gave me his card, and he says, consider it yours in 18 months.
That's great.
Widen the brook up there, put a 40-foot bridge.
Well, so, anyway.
Well, no, you just put a
That'll
farm
save
and
us a
that'll
few
never have to
that'll
worry about
save us a
falling
few
in.
dollars. As Peter said, it may not have to be so steep now to get down to that short one, it can go across far.
Right? A bigger span, yeah.
So, anyway.
Do we have the ability to sort of look at that to see if it is actually suitable for that location? I mean, it sounds great, but is there potential that it wouldn't be suitable for that location? I mean, the length is up.
That I don't know, Ian.
Okay.
I know it's about the same style, and it was designed by VHB for that crossing.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You know, that thousands or hundreds of people a day walk over that thing.
Yeah.
So if we want it, we can have it.
And I guess
And if they've been using it and nothing has happened, it
Correct.
sounds like it's.
right, or even if it's not usable for that project, to just have a spare bridge for other projects.
You never
perhaps.
know. Yeah.
I told you last time, I think I might be able to find one, and I did.
You did. Awesome. Thank you.
So, okay. Anything
And I'll
else?
just briefly mention that the sign's going to go in on South Street hopefully at the end of the week with Eric
great.
Coda's help and
Great.
some volunteers. So.
Great. You guys are doing
What
some
was
great
spray
work.
painted on the road?
Probably dig safe.
Big city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't read it, I just went
Yeah.
over it.
Was it in white?
Yes.
Then that was what's the gentleman's name?
Ogling?
No, who works with Eric Coda? You said would dig safe it.
Oh, Kale.
Kale.
Oh, okay.
Probably. So they just mark it in white, and then the dig safe crew knows where we need to.
I couldn't read it, so I was wondering what it was.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, anything
Great.
else, Kristen?
Nope. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Conservation's doing some good work. And you're losing a good man.
We're losing a very good man.
Very good.
Yeah,
He's
we
paid his dues.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Won't
has
beg him to-
done his dues for sure.
Yeah.
We're sad to see him go, but We have another volunteer that stepped up, so hopefully we'll bring them in front of you folks to.
And in his communication to me, he mentioned that in the passage of time, he might be interested in getting back on the board when the time is
Yeah.
right, so.
Yeah.
I assume he talked to you about the camera too, right? Or
Yes.
talked to somebody about the camera.
Yes, for sure. Yep.
Now, did you want to stick around for the executive session? Or-
Sure, I can certainly do that. Yep.
Okay.
It won't be too much longer.
Okay. Approval of meeting minutes of April 1st.
I gave my changes to Val, so.
Yep, and I've got Peter's.
Okay.
Motion to approve them with the changes.
Second.
Motion to second, approve the minutes with the changes. Hearing any more? Ted, no? Nothing about me. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alrighty.
There are liquor licenses.
Okay.
As it turns
Oh,
out.
there are.
There are?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right.
Jen texted Bruce to tell him where they were, and he went and found them.
No, I was gonna say, because we didn't see him on the table.
No, no
Yeah,
one
we were looking
did.
for them early.
I'll let you. Oh, and I know the pay orders. It's a huge one. Because the school pay.
Yeah, oh, it's a big number. Yeah.
Big number there.
Yeah.
Ready for this pay order, Tasha? $2,417,020.45.
And that's because we're paying the school.
Yeah.
Most of them.
The school, there were three items. The
Yeah.
school, the bond, one of the bonds, and something
The
else.
school was almost 2 of that. 1.9. And US Bank, Bond Bank, 22 million, or 22,000. Okay.
And in the green folder are one thing for Joel to sign and one thing for the whole board to sign.
Figure.
Yeah, that's you.
Maybe you'll have to sign that one, so you have a sticky of it.
How many signs that? Just 2?
Thank you much.
Special event, yeah, this one.
Okay.
They aren't liquor licenses, they're special events.
Oh, special events.
Or at least one is a special event, so.
We got, Grunfeld
Grunfeld.
Meadery LLC. This is for Pocock Rocks, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. And 2-ounce sample cups, 16-ounce pint glasses, and stay with all the places they're supposed to. And Hogback Mountain, same deal, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the Pocock Rocks, and following all the rules.
Okay. You got those 2, Tasha? Okay. Alrighty, we all vote on those, right? We just,
Just waiting on a motion.
That was,
it was a motion. Michelle second it? Michelle,
I'll
up there?
second.
Alright, motion to second, pay warrants and liquor licenses or special events. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alrighty. Select board concerns. Why don't we start?
this one,
Whoops, here
Wait a
you
minute.
got one.
there's no place for us to sign. This is for Hogback Mountain to, I guess, open their tap room down in Rockydale.
I think that Jen just signed that, doesn't she?
Yes, I think so.
I don't think we have to sign that.
It's not a special event, no?
No.
No.
Is that a catering? 'Cause-
No,
No,
it's
they're-
they're applying for a liquor license, in the state of Vermont.
Yeah, it's usually a select board signature block.
Well, there's no signature thingy on it.
The clerk usually signs the catering.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this,
Those are all attachments that go with
yeah,
it.
see, these checks are all made out to Vermont DLC.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not ours. It's gotta go to the state, I believe.
Okay. That it, Peter?
Yep.
You got, or yet, no, we don't vote on the tap room one, because,
No,
yeah, okay. Select board's concerns. I don't know, we start with Teddy. Ted, you got anything?
Just one, a tree on Garfield Street that the birds are just eating until it's gonna fall over.
Okay.
It's up by Mountain Street, that area. Dave Fernie, in front of David Fernie's house.
So you're suggesting it needs to be taken down?
Yeah.
As a tree warden, at least make a recommendation.
Oh, it's dead. There's chips all over the ground and half the trunk is missing.
Okay. Anything else? That it?
Not right now.
Okay. Peter?
No, I'm good.
Michelle?
Got another one.
We can go back to those, you guys.
So 14th Star Brewing,
Special event?
Yep.
it's a special event, and
You comfortable with putting that in with the rest of your old motion and all those
I
listed?
am.
Peter, Tasha, you wanna add that?
That's for Pocock, I assume?
yeah, it's for Pocock, on June
Well, that's
15th.
coming up pretty soon. isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder why they're coming in. What's going on?
We got some more.
So
Okay.
everybody's good with it.
Okay. So,
Adding that to the,
Peter, you got some?
no, I'm good.
Is that,
Michelle?
you guys sign this?
I'm good.
I just have a couple of things, actually one thing. Have you noticed, anybody noticed all the power poles up North Street been painted from Pine Street to?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, Bruce is aware of it.
Okay.
We're looking into it.
Okay, that's all.
I saw it on Facebook,
Yep.
Oh, okay, and
asking
there's
for
actually
information.
another tree on Pine Street that's by Jen Myers, by the Stetsons and Roy LaRose's old house. For the corner, there's a tree that's, they got part of the limb off the thing, but they didn't, they should probably,
Oh, that one that broke and fell down?
yeah, it's hanging there.
Is that Maple Street?
Pine, that's all I had. Valerie, you're up.
No, I'm nothing to add.
Oh, Deb, can I ask a question? Revolving loan fund? The two that are like a little behind.
The town of Bristol?
The town of Bristol, yes, but that wasn't what I was thinking on, because the town of Bristol, I think we agreed to pay it off, didn't we?
We
At the
did,
select
yeah.
board, so that
We just need to
at
do
the
it.
town meeting, right?
Just doesn't look good.
Ted, you just handed
So
me
one
something.
is behind by the end of February, which isn't that far, and then the other one.
I'm sorry, Michelle.
Yeah, I know.
Have they worked out arrangements for that one?
I have not heard any new updates. But I will make a point to follow up. Oh,
Is it in that packet?
what?
What's that?
Yeah. Revolving loan fund?
Yeah, it was in other business.
It's under
Oh,
other,
okay.
other,
I haven't got to that file yet, sorry. Okay.
It's in your yellow section.
Yeah, it's right here. Any other business correspondence or anything for us? Valerie, hear nothing?
No, unless you wanna, here's the list of stuff that was included.
In your other business?
Yeah.
Anybody wanna, you've got that letter?
The notice that the lawsuit has been dismissed.
Yeah.
Vermont Gas.
And
The letter from Vermont Gas Systems acknowledging
Yep.
the rescission.
looks like the pit's gonna start, well, it's always been open, I guess. Got that from.
well, yeah, I looked at, are they bringing stuff in or taking stuff out?
I do not know, none of the
It looks
attachments
like
were
they're
with the
dumping.
application.
That's what I thought, it
Yeah,
looked like they were
they have a
getting
permit
a
for
permit
it.
to have stuff brought in.
Yeah. And there was a list of stuff that was allowed to be brought in.
Right. And that's the one that's on 116 where the
Yeah,
house
right.
is partially built.
Right at the town line.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's right on just.
Town Line Road,
Yeah.
right at the end.
Yeah.
Cobble Road, or not Cobble.
Not
Cobble. Yeah, it's Cobble.
Cobble.
It's Cobble Road,
Oh,
160.
down there?
Across the
Yeah.
road.
Oh, I
way
was
down.
thinking it was back farther.
No,
where
it's
the
way
guy
down.
who
It's way down,
shot
the last
the knife
piece of property in
right
Bristol.
across the road. You know the house
Oh,
that's
no,
got a fence in
that's
it?
Rathbun.
Yeah, that's what I was
No,
thinking
it's
it
way
was.
down. It's right just
Oh.
before the Middlebury line.
Okay,
Yep.
I know
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah,
at.
it is cobble.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Michelle, you wanna go then, read that executive session?
Need to
And
go
with the executive session to add real estate.
real estate negotiation.
Yeah, negotiations.
Okay, and we doing Contract negotiations? Well, you already have real estate negotiations in there.
Yeah, potentially.
Contract negotiations and attorney-client communications, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters, potential real estate negotiations, potential contract negotiations, and attorney-client communications per 1 VSA subsection 313.
Perfect.
Okay, all those in favor?
And also inviting Kristen Underwood for part of the session and later Bruce Nason for part of the session.
Second.
Who seconded it?
Pick one.
Pick one.
Will do.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, have we said that, aye?
Yeah.
Okay,